Welcome, everybody, to Hot Takes with Hans and Harry. How's everybody doing tonight? Rhetorical question. We can't hear you, but I hope you're all doing well. Hans, how about you, buddy? How you been?
I just went through the most roller coaster emotional 4 hours of my life. So let's just get into it.
I love it. Harry, how about yourself? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Greg. I can't complain. I had a lot of fun during a 4 hour ride. So, interestingly enough,
Man, well, you guys keep alluding to it. The topic for today's episode, in case you haven't seen the subject title, is Zack Snyder's Justice League. We are all about the ZSJL tonight, baby. And man, I've probably watched about 10 hours of Justice League altogether this week
double
because I
dip.
watched the original and then I double dipped on the Zack Snyder. So we'll see how this goes. But without any further ado, let's get right into it. So the way that we're going to format this episode is lists of pros and cons for Zack Snyder's Justice League. And we're just going to alternate on those pros and cons. So starting off with the pros, what do we got here?
Yeah, I mean, for me, shout out to Warner Brothers, man. They did it right, allowing this movie to happen, allowing this vision for Zack Snyder. I just thought it was really cool because I remember when Christopher Nolan, when they called out HBO Max and they said that their movies were going to be coming to the streaming service, same day as theaters or, whatever exactly it was. Warner Brothers allowed this vision to happen, allowed Snyder to be able to do this. And there's not many times where we get the cut of somebody's film or they re-release it, or Apocalypse Now comes to mind as like three different types of cuts, and Blade Runner I think too. So it was really cool to just kind of see them step up to the plate and allow Snyder to kind of do his version. Even though it is an extremely long version, I think this is kind of the nerd version. I don't think my wife would want to sit down and watch this. She probably would be fine with the original Justice League, but listen, hopefully Nolan sticks around at Warner Brothers and makes dope movies. Those are my feelings on it.
So, okay. Did Warner Brothers really just allow Zack Snyder to do this, or was it because of dork fans who would not shut up about it? Listen, as soon as Sonic got the whole movie changed over his appearance because of fan outcry, nothing was off limits. Sure enough, not Justice League. And here we are, 4 years later, and all of a sudden, because of enormous fan outcry, undeserved, now we've got a whole other cut of a movie that didn't actually exist prior to this. So I don't know if this was a call made by Warner Brothers that was altruistic.
Their hand was forced.
Yeah, exactly. I think fan outcry was just too great for it. So I don't know. I don't think... I don't know. Here we are, but I think whatever.
fandom of like that kind of fandom is like so toxic because it like sets like some kind of it sets up like a precedent going forward with all we have to do is complain or just say we want to cut. Like there's people that are going crazy right now about it, David Ayer cut of Suicide Squad, which I don't want to see. I will never want to see that. I'm surprised I sat through 4 hours of this after watching the original Justice League, but I'm a huge fan of Zack Snyder. So I don't think, I agree with, I don't think WB was the ones who sat in an office and said, we're going to make this is a great idea. It was just millions of fans who were let's just build it up. Let's just put enough talk about it, which is good and bad in some situations. Like in Sonic, it's good because they created a lot of positive changes from what it looked like. But I think in unnecessary situations, I think when it comes to Justice League, and we'll talk about this through the next however long we go on this. I just
4 hours, baby.
Yeah, I don't think it was necessary. I think it wasn't necessarily WB. It was that toxic fandom that kind of exists over the internet.
Yeah.
Well,
and you can't give in to these guys.
Yeah, the only response I'll have to that is that this was kind of a different situation than some other things where Zack did have to step away and somebody did have to come in and finish, his movie. And obviously, as I've seen written, there wasn't much added to this cut, and reshot. This was already things that were shot that were just cut or removed from the movie. So I would say in that element, allowing, Zack to be able to tell his story and, I mean, thankfully for HBO Max and them being able to do this, because, if this was a theater release thing, I think it probably would have just been, a one night event, that we would have had to see with Fathom Events or something. Shout out to them, sponsor us. But yeah, I think it's something that is a little bit different from that as opposed to just the fandom. But I do think that probably played it with pressure. But yeah, I was just excited to see that a filmmaker got to do his version of the film.
Okay, fair shout. So one of our cons here, Harry, you a little unfamiliar with the DCEU.
I gotta be honest with our viewers and our listeners. I haven't seen the original Justice League cut. I didn't see the movie that led up to this, Batman vs Superman. So I'm really, and I didn't see Aquaman either. I've seen the Wonder Woman movies. I saw the lovely Suicide Squad, which Chris has already referenced as far as wanting to watch more of that. I'm excited for the Robert Pattinson Batman. I'll definitely be checking that out. But yeah, I do, I'm coming at this fresh. I'm coming at this as only 4 hours, where Greg has dedicated a good 24 hours of his life to the DC.
It felt like it. All right, so
that's a con for me coming in. I'm definitely not the guy to be the expert on this for sure.
Not versed in it. Well, the very first con also that I saw with the movie, soon as it starts off, we have this pretentious little message about the film being in 4:3. For God's sakes, it's 2021 and we're watching a film in 4:3. What the heck? What do you guys think about this? Please tell me I'm not wrong.
I don't think it was. I wouldn't think it was pretentious if they didn't pop that little message in front of it. I kind of would just see and be like, all right, it's for this is how kind of Zach, I guess envisioned it. I guess of doing it, but it was just weird that they put
pan and scan TV style.
No. But I'm just no, yeah, exactly. But I'm just the way they put it. They're they had to remind fans nothing's wrong with your TV. This is just Zack Snyder wanting to do it 4:3. In 4:3, I don't. I think at first, it took me way out of it because I was watching the first two parts on the cell phone, so it kind of was difficult to really see anything.
As Snyder intended.
Yeah, as Snyder intended. And as I was watching, when I actually got home for vacation and watched the rest, it kind of didn't bother me as much, but I can see how that would turn off a lot of people.
So yeah, it fit in your cell phone properly, right, Chris? You weren't who's talking?
Yeah, I mean, look, again, widescreen has been a thing on home release for years. Why we're going out of our way to do 4:3, I don't know. I mean, if it was something with the way that the footage was shot or whatever, okay, sure, fine. But to just make that decision, I just,
I swear to God, I swear that Sony and all them now are going to start selling 4:3 flat screen TVs. They're not going to be widescreen anymore.
I don't think so. Listen, I'm being a little quiet over here because I thought it was dope. Listen, you set the tone early, let people know this is my vision. We're when you Google this movie, when you look it up on IMDb, it's Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm all for the filmmakers seeing out their vision. I guess you guys didn't see The Lighthouse either, because that one definitely not filmed in regular format or widescreen format. I forget exactly. I think it was 16 millimeter or 8 millimeter, something like that. So that definitely had a weird scope on the screen, but loved it. Let's go for it. Let's shoot it like this. Thought it was great.
Okay, so for The Lighthouse or art cinema
time period movie. Okay,
yeah, sure. If I'm watching a superhero movie, I don't want it in this tiny box with black bars on the side of my screen like it's 1994. Come on, this is just I don't know.
It's confusing because I don't think any other of Snyder's movies have been presented like that. I think for some reason Justice League was the one he wanted to do it with.
Would
all for it.
Had his version been released in theaters, would it have been 4:3?
No, I think I don't. Well, yeah. I don't know. No, because you'd have theater people
That's
coming
my
out.
Vision.
You'd have people coming out of the theater saying that the screen's not right. Yeah. It just caused chaos. No, I don't know. That's how we got it. We got it a 4-3 on it. Me watching it on a cell phone.
All right, so we're actually going to stick on the con train for just a little bit here.
Choo-choo.
Yeah, that's right. So another thing I really disliked was Superman's stupid death rattle. There's a couple problems that I had with this. Number one, went on way too long. Number two, I don't care if it's Superman or if it's Darkseid or whoever, but nobody's shouting, whether it's a death cry or they're just yelling or whatever. They're not going to be sending vibrational waves that travel through water that you can hear, but buildings aren't shattering or anything like that. Like it just magically goes through and doesn't affect any solid matter, but it's also strong enough to travel through underwater. Look, it's stupid. It's a stupid conceit to the movie.
The movie, and I'm sure a few things that we're going to talk about is just how some of this is shot, but like that went on for way, way too long. I think for the first 20 seconds it was cool. I'm like, all right, well, they're showing him die. At first, I didn't even know he was actually dying. Like, they're just him yelling. But then I remember back to like Batman vs Superman, and it just, yeah, you're right. It didn't make sense because he's yelled in the past before, and like, how do they know? Like, the mother boxes know that like Superman like is dying, or whoever they're calling out to is like he could just be mad. Like,
here's another gap in logic for you.
Oh boy,
we're starting off hot, baby. So these mother boxes were waiting for Superman to die in order to activate and call out for Darkseid. Well, what happened 30 years ago when Superman wasn't even on the planet and didn't exist? Right. Why didn't they call out to him then?
Yeah, like you're digging yourself a way deep
hole. What do you think about Superman's death rattle?
So, I will say, even though I didn't watch Batman vs Superman, I did watch a 15-minute video to catch me up on what happened.
Oh yeah, you would have been really confused if you didn't watch.
So, but even then, I'm like watching and I'm like, okay, I know he dies. Okay, what is happening? I was still a little bit confused with it. I do see the logic and the reasoning. Like, how did these boxes wake up? Like, it's a really unanswered. Like, I mean, it's an answerable question. It's a little weird. But yeah, how do these boxes wake up with Superman? Like, what if Superman had traveled to a different planet and then died there? Like, would him dying cause those boxes to wake up again? It's a little bit of a plot hole for sure with that. But that early on in that part of the movie, I was trying to figure out what's going on. What are these boxes? What does this mean?
Yeah, you and everybody, bud.
Yeah.
So another Zack Snyder trait or constant across all his movies is bleached out color. Oh man, this drives me so nuts. And compared to the original Justice League, I will say I prefer, spoiler alert, I prefer the Zack Snyder Justice League cut over the Justice League, as people call it. But one of the things that Joss Whedon did was add color into the DC universe. Snyder always runs his film through a bleaching process and washes out all the colors. It's a comic book movie, people. I want to see stuff pop. Part of the reason I love Wonder Woman and Aquaman, their movies so much, and Shazam, the colors pop. You know why? Because Zack Snyder wasn't at the helm. But sure enough, he gets control here, and boom, all the colors washed away. And even a beautiful place like Themyscira / Paradise Island with the Amazons, where you would expect to see these lush green fields and, these brown rocky cliff tops and this pearly ocean blue water. Nah, not so. He makes it look as bland as a desert. So I don't know. I'm over that. What do you guys think?
I think that fits with other Zack Snyder films like Watchmen. Like I'll talk about it every episode. I'll bring up the Watchmen. It's one of my favorite movies. I'm a fan of Man of Steel. I really like Man of Steel, and I like 300. But you're right. Like, I think in terms of a comic book movie, I do take the Dark Knight. Like, they're very kind of darker movies in terms of a Batman like that. But that's the theme. Like Batman's a dark character. But I think with Justice League, you have a lot of personalities that are in the league, and I think you don't really want to necessarily kind of dampen how it looks, because I think I think you're right. Where it looks weird in some scenes, and I remember like in Wonder Woman, I saw the first one I saw like once, and it is like it's visually so much visually different than like whenever they show Paradise Island here. And yeah, I don't think it's necessarily in and maybe some parts of the movie or some scenes, but I just like throughout the whole movie, it just there are scenes that look weird because of how he like shot it with like taking out all the color. I completely agree.
Hair.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's actually funny you guys are talking about color and comics and stuff because the wife was doing a little bit of a project, and I have right here a nice little colorful
Beautiful
comic, Captain America, first issue. So very vibrant, very colorful. But yeah, the Joss Whedon, or sorry, not the Joss Whedon, the Zack Snyder cut of this is, I mean, I think of films like 300. And even Sucker Punch, which drained pretty much of all the color. I mean, I know, he likes his reds, for the
Drained of
violence
story
there.
too.
Well, yeah, definitely in Sucker Punch case. But yeah, I mean, comparing them to the Wonder Woman movies, I mean, maybe it was a cloudy day when Steppenwolf rides in the Themyscira, and like, maybe we'll give him that. But yeah, it's really I mean, it's also, I would say the thing he seems to go to is like really, I don't want to say dark places, but dark characters. Like I wonder if his Wonder Woman would have looked this way, which probably it would have, this dark. But it's like when you put a character like Steppenwolf in Darkseid, like it's gonna be really dark colors against it. But it probably also works better for the visual effects if it's darker too. It's probably harder to notice because there's some glaring instances in this where the special effects are just not up to par for it. But yeah, I mean the colors, it's definitely a little disappointing for sure. Not my favorite Zack Snyder bit that he likes to do.
For sure. So another thing, we see this in the Aquaman scene, and really we see it even before that with Lois going to visit Superman, but the mournful music with slow motion, man, did they overuse this. Now, as far as the slow motion goes, I don't have as big of a problem with that because that is, a Snyderism. J.J. Abrams loves his lens flares and Snyder loves to use slow-mo. So I get it. And I actually saw a stat today that literally 10% of the movie is in slow motion, which is kind of mind-blowing. But I think it works for the Flash. But where it doesn't work or isn't needed is all of these scenes, whether it's, Aquaman or Lois or whatever, where there's this mournful slow music or, whatever soundtrack choice they had, and Aquaman's walking into the waves, and it's like, oh my God, really? Like, dude, this is not what you're trying to make it. Like, it's not that. I don't know what you're going for, but it ain't this. So I don't know. I thought that was overused. Harry, what do you think about it?
Well, I mean, there's the scene right before that where Aquaman saves a man on a boat and he has his shirt on. And then he gets to the pier and gets the whiskey and he takes his shirt off to go swimming. So I don't know what the logic is with that. There's a lot of shirt taken off with Aquaman and Superman. Like later on in the movie when Superman gets risen from the dead, he's wearing his tux or like, his suit. And then all of a sudden he doesn't have a shirt on. Not even like the undershirt and the like suit jacket, it's gone. And then Aquaman's just like, if I got to swim, bro, in this slow-mo mournful music, I'm ripping the shirt off. Let's go. Check it out, people. Very impressive bodies on both of them, I must say. But yeah, it's,
and Superman's chest hair is canon, by the way.
Yeah. It is a little, it did feel a little bit overdone where you're watching it and you're like, okay, I could see how this can add up to a 4-hour movie. I wonder if at some point when he was at like 3:39 or like 3:45 of the movie, he was like, how do we get this to like 4 hours exactly?
Let me pad it out.
That 4-hour mark. But yeah, those scenes are definitely overdone. I know we said we go pro con, but I know we're starting off with a lot of cons. But yeah, that part for me didn't really work for sure. With that, Chris.
Yeah, in some parts there it worked. It really did work, like you said with the Flash scenes. But I feel like every scene that Lois Lane was in was slow motion. Or if it wasn't, it just felt like slow motion. Like it would like
mournful, definitely for sure.
But I get it. Like, and that's why this is why like I'm in the crowd of like I appreciate that there is a Snyder cut, but I just don't think it should have been this long. Like it definitely could have been cut back to like a 3.5, like maybe 3 hours, with a lot of stuff. Like just take out some of it, but the slow motion, it really drove me crazy, and that's why I think with the Aquaman, with like him walking in the water, like I feel like there was that could have been shot in 3 seconds. It might have lasted 15 to 20 seconds of him just walking in the water. And it was stuff like that. And then it like led into like one of my cons is this lady singing this stupid like Viking song as he was leaving. Like, and I actually looked up to see what this song was, and it was like something about like this guy that this woman was like obsessed with or was in love with left, and she's holding Aquaman's sweater that he ripped off and threw, and it just felt like
and she sniffs it.
she sniffs it. Yeah, like
I don't remember that scent.
why? Like, does he do that every time he goes somewhere? And he like every time he throws a shirt, do they sing a Viking song and like say goodbye to him? And it just felt like really unnecessary to show that, because that added nothing to the scene for me. Like it just felt really weird, and I don't know. And that just goes in with like the whole like slow mo, because I think that was like that felt like it was in slow mo of her just like singing and smelling sweaters.
Yeah. So that for me, I kind of got it, where I guess they're looking at him as the protector of the village, or a guy who's a semi savior type, where he's bringing them fish and stuff like that. So I can see her singing, a sad song or whatever when he leaves. The smelling of the sweater was a little weird and unnecessary. Actually, the whole thing was unnecessary. I didn't mind it, but it was totally unnecessary. Yeah. So I mean,
it just took it out, because I think it was so early in the movie, and I'm like, oh my god, this is what I have look forward to. Like this is it. Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But
yeah, to be honest, when I saw that scene too, I felt the same way. I was like, what did you guys sign me up for? Like, are we gonna have some long like vocals, like where people are leaving, or are we gonna play out on some music that's like way too long for slow motion?
I think Catherine was sleeping, and I was like, Jesus Christ. And I'm like, what? I'm like, this is what I had. Like this movie like just started.
And here's the other thing. That was a dope sweater. Why would you get rid of that?
I know.
I would wear the crap out of that.
Dude, this is the thing. Like, why does he keep taking his shirt off to go swim?
I don't know.
No other Atlantean. No other Atlantean
left his pants
on.
Shirt
off.
That's what I'm saying. Wouldn't it make more sense if you didn't have pants? Like, you use a lot of legs when you swim. Like, come on. Am I missing something?
How come Willem Dafoe didn't have his shirt off?
Oh, man. Love seeing Willem.
Good point. Let's keep the con train rolling here. Parademons, any thoughts on them?
Listen, again, this is me watching this movie for the first time, not really understanding the comic book history, the lore. And then I'm just like seeing these characters with Steppenwolf, and his name's Steppenwolf, and I'm like ready to like sing some famous Steppenwolf songs. And then I see like parademons like
what's your top Steppenwolf song? What's your favorite?
Top Steppenwolf song? It's got to be the one. I forget the name of it. You really, really put me on the spot there. It's the one,
for those only
like
listening. For those only listening to the audio, we're watching Harry squirm right now.
With me, little girl, on a magic carpet ride, right?
Ride.
Yeah. There you go. I just had to sing it out. So the folks there, I mean, you get singing in Justice League, and you get some solid tunes from me. So yeah, I see like parademons, like critter noises or something on the subtitles, and I was like, parademons, like this, where I'm just like, if I'm not a fan of this, I'm like watching this and like, what are these parademons? What are they? And I know they explain like, hey, when Darkseid and Steppenwolf take over places, they make them like they're parademons and they're under their control, blah blah blah. But I was like, these things are kind of lame, kind of stupid. They look like big locusts. Yeah, just wasn't feeling their vibe.
It's interesting because in the Joss Whedon version, when they show the battle of the first age, they actually show people turning into parademons, like as they're getting conquered or whatever. But they don't they explain it in this movie, but they don't actually show the transformation. So it's kind of weird. Hans, what do you think about parademons?
I mean, they're cool. They look pretty cool. The name, it's a generic kind of
dude.
Yeah,
Like just
they're
named for
henchmen.
that type of thing. Like
Yeah, like I don't know, the army of dark side. Call them soldiers or something. I
we
don't
call
know.
them
It's just
like dark demons or
parademons.
dark demons
Yeah,
or dark soldier. It's honestly, it doesn't. It's just a kind of a comic book like cliche ish like
yeah.
henchman name.
Take less from the comics and like create your own.
Well, speaking
that's my
of
solution.
subtitles, and I know we're all fans of leaving the subtitles on, but
100%.
man, if you make a drinking game out of Ancient Lamentation playing, oh my God, you're gonna be drunk, knocked out, or possibly dying of alcohol poisoning, because the amount of times that they play Ancient Lamentation, aka the music for Wonder Woman, where it's like, oh. Sorry to our listeners for that approximation.
I think
but,
my vocals were better, but who's great?
I swear, every time I saw that Ancient Lamentation pop up on screen,
Dude,
it took me out of the moment, man.
we talked a little bit about the music already and like how the mournful music kicked in, but that for me was also just like, I get it. Like, can we play another note? Like, Wonder Woman's here again. Like, we don't need her like one little theme. Like, there's plenty of other things we can use, or like create a Justice League theme. I mean, maybe it was in there, and I'm not remembering exactly how it went, but I would have thoroughly enjoyed, like you said, if like every time like the camera cut to Wonder Woman, and it was like da-da-da, and it's like, okay, I got it.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah,
thanks.
Good old Ancient Lamentation. What'd you think, Hans?
I wish I would have, like, you told me this like late in the game when I was past all that, like where they kind of stopped showing Wonder Woman themes, like I think it was like early in the movie. But I have every intention to go back and watch it and just count how many times. But
you're going back and watching 4 hours? Oh, man.
In parts.
There you go.
It's just goofy. Like subtitles are really weird, like with that. But
Oh, one more kudos right there. Kudos to Warner Brothers. So if like you had to like go back to your part, like they had it like broken up almost like YouTube kind of like ads in like with a little white line. So like, oh, I'm on part 4. Like, let me fast forward to that part. So I enjoyed that. I thought that was cool.
I use that as when I saw the time, I'm like, I have 2 more minutes left in this part. Like, are you serious? So
I mean, for me, I just if I needed to stop it, it was ready to go right where I left off whenever I came back. So
yeah, no, but I mean, if you watch it on. I watched it on 2 different TVs, so that kind of happened to me where I had to start over. So.
At the same
time,
Bruce
Wayne.
Yeah, listen, man, don't worry about it.
Got your
Went
2
to the
TV
back cave.
setup?
Yeah, man.
Well, so you mentioned a pro there. We'll move on to the pros and get some of the good in here also. Personally, I was really happy to see Ryan Choi, aka the Atom. So Harry, for you who might not know, the Atom
Spanish.
Yeah, Ryan Choi is a character that becomes the Atom, which is kind of like DC's equivalent to Ant-Man. Scientist and shrinks down impossibly small. Very cool character.
Well, that was that little touch there at the end when they said he was in charge of the lab. I forget what his title was, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
Exactly.
So
always happy to see diversity because there were 2 different Atoms.
Absolutely.
Also, there was Ray Palmer, the white guy, but then they chose Ryan Choi, the Asian guy, and I'm happy for that. Good to see them mixing it up rather than just going, typical.
100% agree.
Any thoughts on Atom other than that? I mean, there's not too much, but it was just cool to see representation.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with like DC Comics as much as I am Marvel, so that's cool that they included them.
I mean, the only thing I will say is what I think Marvel, just doing a little bit of compare and contrast, I think they do a really, really good job of using little not little characters like that, but setting little things up like that where it like makes sense that, oh, this actor is going to be, like even Jimmy Woo. Like Jimmy Woo was like just a part of, Ant-Man universe, and now he's been into, WandaVision. And it's just they do a really good job with their other characters where it's like I feel like for this movie it was like there's Alfred and there's, Ryan Choi as the Atom, which I didn't even really know until like the end when they're like, oh yeah, you're in charge of this lab now. But I think they do such a better job than the DC movies seem to do, where it's like, their side characters or even just little moments that are just like not even there. Like there is the moment with like the Flash when he saves that girl who I think has a name, which I don't think he ever catches because he was like
Iris,
yeah, Yeah, he's like me all throughout high school, like just avoiding women and just running away when they show any kind of interest.
Stealing
I
hot
think,
dogs.
yeah, I think he was more. I think he was more nervous that he showed his powers, but yeah, like those little things, I just don't think they do well. I mean, I know we're kind of jumping around a little bit here, but it just like Marvel just knocks it out of the park every time with little roles and stuff like that. Where this, I just feel like it's like the main duos and like their one sidekick, and it's like that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Steppenwolf's arrival. What did you guys think about that?
So I thought compared to the Justice League, the theatrical cut, this was so much of an improvement compared to like I feel like they did Steppenwolf a little better than the theatrical version, because I feel like he was more menacing. He actually like seemed like he was a threat, not just like a typical kind of a like I guess a typical villain, like a one and done. Now, I mean, he ends up being that in some sense. But I just think that when he shows up in the original one, like he doesn't really get to show like any of like his action. Like he just kind of like wipes out a couple Amazons and that's it. But I think like as he like shows up and like you actually see fear in some of the Amazon's eyes, even though they do have that like kind of quote like "we have no fear." But you just kind of they look at him like, oh man, like we're possibly screwed. Like, and then when he runs out into the field and just like owns a whole army, I thought with his new armor. Now I know that that might be a con in some eyes. Like with his new armor, I actually enjoyed it a lot more, and I thought it was cool because they're shooting arrows at him and they're sticking at him, but they kind of seem to like have their own whatever like sense or whatever, and they just cut the arrows off like right away. So I thought it was a lot better than the theatrical version, but I thought that whole scene was that's a necessary scene, unlike sweater smelling lady. But but I just thought that was a much bigger improvement than the original.
Harry, how'd you feel about Steppenwolf's arrival and his design in general? His fight with the Amazons?
So I did see a picture of the difference, and I was like, holy cow, that's a lot more CGI on there.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess it did add a little bit of pop for him and made him stand out in scenes. But I thought his fight with the Amazons was pretty cool. I mean, the only thing that not the only thing, one of the things I will give Zack Snyder credit for is he always puts on a show with his movies. So like, even though I feel as though like some of the story, is a little blah and the writing is a little blah, like when it gets to these kind of fight scenes, like for the most part, I had a really good time with them. I mean, they are a little convoluted sometimes, and it's like when Steppenwolf's fighting underwater, and I'm like, how is he fighting underwater? He doesn't have a mask, what's going on? But this fight I thought was really cool with his arrival. Again, didn't know where he came from. I saw it look like a portal, and I was like, cool, he's here. This must be the bad guy. And then you find out like there's another bad guy. And it's like, okay, so he's just basically like the understudy of the bad guy. I don't know. Like he's doing all the grunt work, all the dirty work. Like who knows? But yeah, I thought his fight was cool with the Amazons. I definitely dug, them trying to keep the box from him, even though it failed miserably. I was also wondering about the structure. So the thing falls in the water, and it's like you got that covered the same way at the bottom as you do like with the doors. Like what's going on here? So it felt like bad planning on their part, but I just imagined all the people. My cat just attacked me. Sorry. You have all these people like just standing there protecting this box all the time. Like what's that shift like? Like I know jobs are tough out here, but like you're out there like covering like this box for days. Like what's the shift like? Is that a 12-hour shift, 8 hours? What is that?
Fair shout. It's funny that you mentioned the structure falling in the water, because in the original version it did not happen like that.
Cool.
No,
glad I saw this version.
No, it just falls and then he like cuts it open, right?
Yeah, he just busts out the wall and that's it. It never falls into the ocean or anything like that.
Nice.
So very interesting. I guess they were trying to show he's tougher in this version.
Yeah.
I did like the fight with the Amazons. I did not enjoy his design as much. I do think it is an improvement over the original Justice League, but to me, he looks like if the Fallen from Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen had a baby with the Destroyer armor from Thor. I mean, it's the weirdest amalgam design you could possibly come up with, and it's just, it doesn't make sense how his armor is like constantly shifting and it's all just one spiky ball. It's like, oh, cool. The dude rolled around in thumbtacks. Like, I guess I should be scared of him. But on the flip side, they did explain his motivation a little more eventually. And yeah, he wasn't just, a bad guy being bad, doing bad things. Like, he was trying to get back in the good graces of Darkseid and all that good stuff. So I don't know. It's kind of like 50-50. I am kind of 50-50 with Steppenwolf. I did like him communing with Desaad. All that stuff, hair and all the Darkseid stuff was not in the original. So it was pretty cool. I like the effect of, rather than using a typical hologram, Desaad actually melts out of the stone and you can kind of see him there. That was pretty neat. And Desaad's design was pretty cool too. How'd you guys feel about that?
I loved all that stuff they added in, like with Darkseid. I think that they kind of needed that, and there was a lot of alluding to, like in Batman vs Superman, like Darkseid was coming, and I think and it's similar to like what they did with Thanos, where they like hinted at a greater power that they were eventually supposed to fight. But you don't see him at all in the Justice League, and you don't see Desaad. And I think the way that they kind of introduced him, I think this movie makes a lot more sense with those characters added in terms of the story. So I'm really glad that they added them, and I think the effects that they used for them were really well done. I mean, Warner Brothers paid $70 million to get this thing recut, and you could tell a lot of it went into those like special effects with all the additional footage that they're including. So I was all on board with everything they added with that.
Yeah, I mean, not seeing the other version, I mean, it definitely, adds to the story of like, what's kind of going on here behind the scenes. And then there's a third guy, Desaad, and it's like all these guys have like really depressing names. But how did that? My question was, how did that metal piece get there? Was that in another movie? Was that in a Stinger? Like we just don't know how that.
So he's in the middle of like a nuclear silo, and I think that piece
toxic. It's good here.
Yeah, which was not a line in the original. I think that piece of metal was like a burnout plutonium rod or whatever. I don't know. I'm just postulating. But
no, of course that could make some sense. Yeah.
And once he shoved the mother boxes in there, it rewrote the matter. Because remember the mother boxes?
Yeah. Got it. That makes sense.
Fire Demon had it delivered.
Yeah. All right.
Via Amazon.
Yeah. I just thought that might have been something I missed in one of the movies or the original cut where like it shows it land or something, and that's how they communicate with each other. But cool.
Speaking about the boxes.
So the boxes, first of all, they're called the mother boxes for, I'm sure, some comic book reason where they probably explain the backstory a little bit better. But so they give them to the Amazonians, and they go, and they protect it in this big giant rock solid like thing, which didn't work. Then they give it to the Atlanteans, and instead of like being like, hey, octopus or big whale, like, why don't you swallow this and just like keep it off the radar and like protect it. I mean, they're under the sea at least. They give it to men, and men like literally go like down the road after they defeat Darkseid and are like, let's just bury this box here. Let's just dig it up. How deep you want it, boss? I don't know, 5 feet. Like, let's just throw it here. Like, what is up with that? Like, why are men so trash that they couldn't like figure it out and like decide where to hide it? They were just like, they went down the road and were like, let's just throw it here. Why not?
Yeah.
I never thought about that until I saw this note on here about that, and you're right. But it's like you look at other movies too where they do dumb stuff like that. But
my god!
But then like later, even later in the movie, if Cyborg, who is well aware of his powers at this point, who like just digs it in his mother's grave, which I think are 6 feet, so it's not much more than 5. He could find literally anywhere in the world. And
they were already at your house, and you're like, "Let me go put it in my grave. Like my dad will never be there. They'll never connect the dots."
Yeah, they can't see dig marks, recent dig marks. Like, yeah, I agree, Harry. That was weird.
Men being trash.
Well, it's just like you look at Lord of the Rings. Isildur was wearing the ring around his neck, like parading around with it. Like, they don't care.
Yeah, that scene actually totally gave me Lord of the Rings vibes, where it was like, oh, and the 3 rings to the elves, and 7 rings to
Men
all that stuff.
digging it in
Yeah.
dirt.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you with that stuff. Moving on with cons. I thought it was really strange in the bank scene where we see Wonder Woman and people have been slaughtered by bullets. And at the end of the scene, Wonder Woman asks the girl, "Are you all right, princess?" And Wonder Woman then tells her, "You can be anything you want to be." Very, I mean, I get Wonder Woman is about hope and stuff, but we've got at least 10 fatalities before she arrives.
Yeah.
So it's kind of strange to me that she, she's like, "Oh, everything's cool,"
So that whole bank scene was weird. I know that was in the original, but I think that and one of the cons I found this is like the special effects with it too. Like, you are right. Like, you can be whatever you want to be after like this little girl witnessed like really like is gonna have trauma for a very long time. But then like I didn't like that whole bank scene because it's just like the effects look. I feel like the 70 million went into other effects that weren't included in it, like to new scenes, and it just looked like it didn't look like. I think someone else's.
Are you talking about when she's moving quickly to deflect
it
the
just
bullets?
looked weird.
Yeah.
Like I think the whole thing looked really weird, and I just thought that whole scene was really off. But it didn't really. I don't think it had like anything to really do with the rest of the story, if I remember. I don't know,
Right.
but I think it was just like a cool introduction for Wonder Woman. It was supposed to be, and at that point, like I was kind of out on it. Like I was just like, this is weird, and the dialogue during it, like I think they dropped like this is one of the few times they dropped like an F-bomb, and which is making it R-rated, and it's a lot of unnecessary stuff in that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me, I think, I mean, compared to I guess Wonder Woman's like even older now, so like she like can move against assault rifles as opposed to like single shot rifles from like, or machine gun fire in World War One. I didn't really vibe with that scene either. And like you said, Greg, it is a little bit uncomfortable to be like, these people are dead. You can be whatever you want. Like, just go out there and do it. Like, you can. And it's like, we already got introduced to Wonder Woman in Batman vs Superman. And then she had her own movie before this movie, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like, we don't really need a scene where it's like, here's Wonder Woman. I mean, I feel like they could have done something else with that. Because, I mean, we haven't even seen Batman in his costume yet up until the movie. So it's like, I don't think they needed to throw this in here to be like, here's Wonder Woman. And it's like, I don't know. I just felt like it also seemed like for me, a non-comic book or, familiar with the DCU, where it was like, does she have like flash powers? Like, does she move like quickly like the Flash does? Like, I was like, I don't remember her moving this quickly.
She moved really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, she can move quick, but I don't know if it's that quick.
Yeah, that's what was just weird. It was almost like this guy has an assault rifle trained on like 30 people, and he's like just getting ready to mow them all down. And she's just like, got it. I'm across. Like, her 40 time must be incredible. Like, but she was moving to block all those. And I was like, this feels a little weird. Can't she just like dive at him and like just go like her thing, and block it and like knock him out? Like, it just seemed unnecessary and just too much.
I mean, she used that bracelet move against Steppenwolf like it had to be like 5 or 6 times. But in this situation, she did
everyone. Like that's like I thought Wonder Woman. This was like kind of the beginning where like I think she was kind of the weakest part of the movie. Like I don't know, I just didn't like her as much as like the other. I wasn't invested in her story, like her inclusion to the story as much as like everyone else, but. I don't know.
I mean, I don't feel that way for me personally, but I also don't think that she was done justice as well as Patty Jenkins did with her. So
I was way more invested like in a Wonder Woman movie, of course, as her being like the main. But I think I enjoyed her character much more in a Wonder Woman movie, and then when they kind of like, I just thought there's so many different pieces to this movie that I feel like she was kind of the weakest. Now I'm not saying that Gal Gadot was bad. I just think they did like her character didn't change from theatrical to the Zack Snyder cut really too much.
Yeah.
Right. Talking about Steppenwolf again real quick, but that portal that you mentioned he came out of her, that's called a boom tube, and in every other iteration it's always horizontal, not vertical. So I know this is like a weird nitpicky comic book thing. Exactly, for sure. But guess what? I'm throwing that nerd card out because I don't understand why you can't have him walking out of a horizontal portal, why he needs to drop down from the sky. It looks super cheesy, and it's like every other sci-fi thing where they could have done something different and just stuck with the source material. I don't know.
Yeah.
How you guys feel about boom tubes?
That was probably the least like nitpick I like. I'm not familiar like with them if they're vertical or horizontal. I think like if you look at Avengers, like with if you have like the space stone, like you're kind of, it's like a horizontal entrance, and
Yeah.
I think maybe they didn't want to mix it up with that and make it like too similar. I don't know. Whatever.
They looked like boom tubes, other than the fact
Yeah.
that they were coming straight down instead of pushing forward.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember. I don't know them too much from the comics or anything, so I can't.
This is Harry's
nitpick
favorite
that.
part of the discussion.
Yeah.
Listen, the one gripe I will give you for the boom tube is that he gets in the last one after he gets the third box, and literally they have to go like reconcile with Superman, and like he goes off and does his thing, and it takes Steppenwolf forever to put that third box in. Like there's a scene where all of them are chilling at Batman's lair, just like chilling in chairs, hanging back. They're like, we got to do this together, guys. And like that, I don't know if there was like some delay or if the vertical boom tubes took longer to get there, but that's where I will go with the nitpick. But for me, it was like, okay. But yeah, I mean, also, I was going to say the dark side, like kind of portal comes up and it's just like a big circle that he could like walk through towards the end.
Right.
Like,
which is the way that boom. Yeah, that's the way they should be.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. Sure.
I hopefully I can bring that up later because I have a little bit of a nitpick with that whole scene, but
yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Moving on with cons, Batman can't make a flying ship. Like, what is up with that, dude? Every iteration of Batman, he has a ship that flies, and all of a sudden he's not smart enough to do that. Oh, all the geniuses at Wayne Tech couldn't, make this fly. Okay, dude, chill. You're Batman, bro.
Is it a Kryptonian ship?
No, it's just a Wayne Tech armored transport or whatever.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't know. The other ones only fit like 2 people. Maybe they were a little too advanced.
This is one of many problems. So mark this down, listeners or viewers. But this is one of many problems that I will have with Batman throughout this, and we will get to each and every one of them.
Oh man!
But yeah, that was just ridiculous to me. And then another thing that I thought was ridiculous was Darkseid almost being killed in the First Age. Darkseid is the ultimate villain in the DC universe. Sure, there might be a few more people more powerful than him, although not many. But to see him almost get killed by an axe and he's gushing blood, and this is your main bad guy, I mean, it doesn't make sense cinematically to show that, because it's like you're supposed to be scared of this guy, and we see him almost die in like the first act of the movie. But on top of that, it makes him look weak all around, and this character is anything but weak. So that really, really bothered me. I mean, I like the fight scene with, all the races and the heroes coming together, but
yeah,
it's just so weird to see that he's like mortal when he's anything but.
Yeah, I watched some videos like after, just some kind of reaction videos, and people kind of that were like, not necessarily ripping the thing apart, but just kind of like analyzing it. And a lot of people focused on this because you're like looking at it. You're right. Darkseid is supposed to be like this. He's not just like a person. He's like basically like a godly entity, and he's destroyed like hundreds of thousands of worlds. And just a little small boy axe comes along and takes him out. And that I think from the original theatrical cut, they used that scene to set up Steppenwolf.
Yes, that was Steppenwolf and not Darkseid.
And I would have appreciated much more if they kept it with Steppenwolf, but showed a little more to that scene, and maybe included Darkseid somehow. But I feel like we're looking at Steppenwolf, and they're looking like throughout this like story, we're trying to see to get his redemption through Darkseid. So I thought it would have been perfect to use him in that scene, but to show Darkseid being defeated, why would you show that? Because then it takes away the fact that he's like, is he really a big bad? Like, Diana told the whole story of how they defeated Darkseid. Like, just let him jump through the portal at the end. I'll be like, all right, let's do it again. Like, I'm not afraid of him. So yeah, I agree. I didn't catch it at first. I kind of thought about it like, all right, well, they beat him. But you think about like what Darkseid actually is, and it's like that was dumb.
How would you think about the scene?
Yeah, I mean, to be with this movie too, it's like this is an hour in, and we're just finding out like why these boxes exist. So like this is when Wonder Woman's like finally figures out like what's going on, and it's like this is a whole hour in the movie. So I thought that was just interesting. I would also be down for like a Dark Side like prequel to this. Like I would watch that movie. Like that looked pretty cool. I have this problem with Alita Battle Angel as well, where like there's a flashback in that, and it's like I'd rather get that movie than the movie you gave me. So yeah, I'm green lighting that for Warner Brothers. Go ahead, give me the Dark Side early years first age cut where I can watch that battle commence. I mean, the only thing I would compare it to that would, I guess, make it some justified is we mentioned it earlier, but Lord of the Rings, where Sauron gets his like ring cut off, and it's like he loses all his powers, and he has to go away for a while. So but yeah, I mean, when you guys are talking about like this is the most powerful being, and it's like he's getting wounded and having to be carried out of there, I could see the nitpick with that. For me, it really wasn't a problem. I mean, he got wounded. His team, his parademons sensed that there was trouble, and they bailed. They got out of there and to fight another day. But yeah, I could see where that could be nitpicky, where it's like this guy's super tough. Because definitely with again, comparing and contrasting with Marvel, it's like Thanos doesn't appear until towards the end, and he totally dominates. You know what I mean? And he ends up winning. So yeah, they probably, I mean, just that makes Thanos seem unbeatable. From that perspective, where it's like Darkseid seems pretty vulnerable.
So I'll get to this. I'll get to another point relating to this later on. But I mean, even just it doesn't make sense thematically. Like, so Harry, you had no idea who Darkseid was before you saw this movie, right?
Yeah, no
Okay.
idea, no.
But again, like you're setting him up to be the major bad guy in the movie, like the one above everyone else. And
Yeah,
here you have him being defeated in the first act. Again, it's like it doesn't make sense to me. Like, even forgetting about how powerful or how tough he is, like this is your main bad guy who you're setting up the supposed trilogy for, and here we see him being beaten and almost killed.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I'll tell you another
Like,
thing.
you don't see Thanos getting his butt kicked. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
he goes in and destroys and just keeps it moving. I mean, I
Right.
guess it could have been better if they if he was like destroying everybody, they're like, Master, like we must leave. Like the boxes are one of them has it. Like we must retreat, and he's like, no, never. And then he ends up deciding to leave. But what else doesn't make sense? Like we get some Green Lantern action here. And then there's no Green Lantern. We can't fit him in with the Justice League. Come on, add more seats, as they said at the end. Let's get the round table going.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that's a strange choice. I don't know what I mean, if I had to guess a reason for his not being included, it would be because it was already crammed with introducing, 3 or 4 other brand new characters.
Yeah, absolutely.
So maybe that's why they didn't do it. But again, in comic universe, it doesn't make sense because every sector has 2 Green Lanterns, and at least one of them should have exactly. At least one of them should have been aware that, hey, Earth is under invasion from Apocalypse. Come on, let's get somebody out there.
Tag him in.
I also have a slight qualm with the GL that they showed in that battle. I mean, he was super weak. He just kind of got his butt handed to him by a parademon, and then Darkseid slices off his hand.
Darkseid almost wore the ring, right? So he would have been a Green Lantern. Is that how it works?
The ring wouldn't accept him even if he caught it. It wouldn't. Because they're kind of
Darkseid.
They're sentient a bit. So yeah. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I would have liked to see more GL hands. What about you?
Yeah, I the only Green Lantern kind of I guess knowing like an kind of story I know is the Stink from the Ryan Reynolds movie. So I don't know too much about the Green Lantern character. Like I've seen some DC animated like iterations of the character, but I don't know too much. It would have been cool, but I think you're right where you're introducing like Flash, Cyborg, Aquaman at this point. Like there's way too much, and I think this movie would be 5 hours if they decide to include the Green Lantern, the Green Lantern Corps. I think that I would much prefer to see a Green Lantern introduction, like small introduction, than Martian Manhunter. But I know we're going to touch on him in a little bit. I
Yeah.
thought I thought that his 2 scenes or 3 scenes were like weird, like really weird.
Mind blown.
I agree, and we're definitely going to touch on him in a bit. There will be more to say.
But I think that character could have been more used towards that the introduction could have been more towards Green Lantern, and even having him like show up or something, like maybe towards like that last epilogue scene, like if he was somehow involved. But you know,
it is what it is.
Yeah, we got 5 seconds of him getting his butt clapped.
Let's move on to,
but sure.
Let's move on to some pros. Personally, one of the best things in the movie, if not the best thing for me, was the scene with Flash and Iris. So that's the scene where Barry, saves the woman who is destined to become his love from the truck accident. I thought that scene was really well done. The comedy was just right without being too goofy, which was a major problem with the original Justice League. They just made Flash a total dweeb. But this was funny. The powers and watching him do it, I thought was cool and sweet and touching all at once. This is the one time I did like the slow song choice. Song to the Siren is a fave of mine, so I actually like that. Chris, I know you had some qualms with this scene. Why don't you?
I just thought it was weird. For story purposes, I think a good like Flash introduction would have been him going to see his I think he went to see his dad before this, and then he had the job interview. I think that was the order of it. It kind of all meshes together. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I just I think that if we were introduced to who Iris actually was, to a general viewer, they don't necessarily know who this character is, that she's going to end up being. It could just be someone who Flash realizes hey, this is my job, I'm saving someone who's probably about to die,
right.
And I think if you go on a little more, because it's funny that she's never mentioned again in the movie, and later in the movie you have Flash making jokes about if he's too young for Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't think it fit with this movie. Now, I think if we maybe got some, a little bit more of that scene with him that's going to lead into the Flash movie, if that ever gets made. I don't know if it will.
It's in production right now.
It's been in production since I've been in high
Forever.
School. For a long time. So I don't. If it gets made and they touch on that subject, that's great. But I think for this cut, it wasn't really necessary.
Tyler, what'd you think about the scene?
I thought it definitely has its funny moments, but it works out with the hot dogs and he goes back to his job. He goes back to his application for the job. I felt like the comedy from Barry Allen and Flash, and I believe this is our friend Perry's favorite DC character is the Flash. So
nice.
I'm pretty sure, but I'll be careful because I love this character. I consider his humor to be similar to the Marvel movies with Ant-Man, where it's he almost feels like he's not really a part of the A-team, but he's kind of with everybody. And I just loved his excitement and the comedy from him because it was just that change of pace. I don't need that from Batman. I don't need that from Superman. This is kind of where, he does that. And he's obviously a little younger than those other guys. So I enjoyed all the stuff from him. I thought that scene was cool. I thought, when he does all his slow-mo runs was cool. And just, I just love the excitement. And, when they cut to a lot of the scenes where it's all of them standing or they're doing stuff and he's just kind of smiling, this is awesome. I'm with Batman and Superman. And, he's I idolize Superman, he's my hero and stuff like that. So I think those things are cool. I would definitely see the Flash movie for sure. But this I enjoyed every time he was on screen or doing stuff. So that was a big pro for me from this experience.
Cool. And then talking about, the other brand new, or one of the other brand new characters to this movie, Cyborg. I really enjoyed the way they expanded on his backstory and his powers. That was something that was left out of the original. They just did the briefest of explanations for both, but here they were able to kind of flesh things out. How'd you guys feel about Cyborg?
He was my favorite part of this cut. I think that just the whole him, like his relationship with his father, they kind of touch on it in the original one for a little bit, but to see how his powers actually work, like I think maybe in the theatrical cut they say like you can break into any system, like you know, but this where they have that whole experience where he's in basically in I guess the mainframe of like as as just a regular guy and just experiencing all like his like basically his world of how like everything works. I
Mhm.
think it's just so well explained. Like he's basically a god
Yeah.
and can control like the world infrastructure, which I think is really cool because you don't really get that. Like you kind of a lot of people from the Justice League when the first one they said he was kind of just like a DC Iron Man, but he was like so much more than that in terms of like a character. Like he's not just a cyborg. He's literally like he's so much more than that, and he plays like a central part when it comes to the mother boxes. And they touch on that a little bit from the theatrical cut, but they really flesh it out here. And I love
Mhm.
his father, like how they really increased his role going forward, like at least to a certain point. But
Yeah.
yeah, I thought he was really, really well done.
Yeah,
Harry Cyborg.
Yeah. What do you think?
yeah. I was gonna say, I obviously I didn't see the original one, so I know all his stuff is cut out. But I think that was a really big disservice to the movie, because I think his relationship with his father and everything, and I mean, literally all these guys got problems with their dads. So it's a real big thing in the DCU. But I thought that was probably one of the most heartfelt moments in the movie with just kind of his story and where everything came from. But just going to his story a little bit, I thought it was going to come from a football game. I was watching it. I'm like, up, here it comes. He's going to like get like disabled as he's like diving for the end zone or something like that. It also gave me vibes if for all those video game heads out there who've played football video games, there was the 2K5 Terrell Owens Eagles cover. The reason I say that is because that was right around the transition from, I think, PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 3 and like Xbox 360. And there was a trailer for this game, and it literally looked like the greatest football game ever. And it was actually like no footage that was actually in the game or used for the game, but it was like an unbelievable cinematic like achievement. And like I can't find the trailer online. I was like trying to look for it. Or maybe I don't know, I was having trouble, but
It's
it
out
just
there
brought out
somewhere.
so many vibes for it because like of just the snow happening. RIP to Gotham Field, thanks to Bane. I don't know if it's in the same universe, but I'm glad they got that game in before that. But yeah, really enjoyed the cyborg stuff. I mean, it's kind of hard to be relatable to a machine or like feel things for like a person who's mostly machine. But I felt like they really did that story justice, and I was glad to have it in the movie because I think it definitely adds some impacts towards the end, especially with it.
Yeah, for sure. Another inclusion, kind of similar to Ryan Choi, that I enjoyed, even though it was super brief, and I'm talking, just a couple lines of dialogue.
Mm.
But Crispus Allen, the police officer in the GCPD, who, for those comic heads, eventually becomes the Spectre. Yeah, Harry, in case you don't know, the Spectre is a huge supernatural force. He's an agent of God, and basically he's got almost unlimited power. Very, very cool character. But it was cool to see Crispus Allen.
Like the Blues Brothers.
Yes.
Cool. Cool. Can't wait.
All right, so let's move back to some cons though, because
Oh
we have quite
no.
a few. Yeah, I know. The Junkie XL score, man. I preferred Zimmer's score in the original Justice League, because and this is something that you wouldn't know, Harry, because you didn't see this, but Zimmer's score actually had odes to John Williams' Superman theme as well as Danny Elfman's Batman theme. So when those characters showed up, they had like those classic themes sprinkled in.
Right.
I did like the return of Zimmer's Man of Steel theme for Superman because they kind of played that whenever he showed up, and that felt right. But yeah, overall the soundtrack was just super blah.
Yeah, I don't know like outside of Justice League anything from Junkie XL. Like I don't know, like I'm not too familiar with any of that. Like if they scored any other movies or what I'd know them from, to be honest. I do prefer the original score. Like Zimmer can honestly do no wrong in my eyes. Um, he can. I hope he does the score for my funeral in 60 years. But
It'd be expensive funeral, man.
I know, right? No, but he really knows how to like tap into these characters, and I would much prefer Zimmer over Junkie XL. Now, some of the scores, like I didn't get taken out of it too much, as like to say it was a con, but with you bringing it up, it makes me wish that Zimmer kind of was still doing this one.
Yeah, I mean, other than that recurring Man of Steel theme, and then of course Ancient Lamentation, which I don't think was Zimmer's. I think that was Junkie XL.
Yeah.
Other than the Man of Steel theme, I think the rest of it was just straight Junkie XL, and boy, it was junky. How would you think?
Yeah, I mean, listen, as a longtime Nolan head, and I mean, I know Zimmer's done other things. Listen, just give me Hans on the track all day long. So maybe I'll have to go back and watch Justice League and just listen to the Zimmer theme for it. So yeah, it's a little disappointing. Again, I really didn't connect with the music too much, or the score, the soundtrack on this one. I mean, it just didn't really do much for me to lift the movie to a different level, because I know sometimes scores can be used to kind of inflate your feelings on things, but I just felt like this score and some of the soundtrack was just, like you said, Greg, like for it.
The other thing that was interesting too, and you mentioned this earlier, but I'm pretty sure you're right on. I don't think that Junkie XL did a actual like Justice League theme. Like, how the Avengers have their own theme. I don't think the Justice League got one in this, and that's kind of
it's a shame.
Yeah, just weird.
Yeah.
So next we have a con with the locations.
Yeah, listen. London, Wisconsin, Paris, and Russia exist, but then we get Metropolis, Gotham, and Central City, or whatever it's called. Like,
yeah,
come on, man. Like, this is where I feel like the DC kind of loses. I don't want to say regular normal people, but this is where I feel like if you're just a casual viewer who, like, if we're trying to hype this up for somebody, it's like, oh, it takes place in Metropolis, and people are like, well, what's that? And it's like Marvel, again, comparing and contrasting. It's like, yeah, New York, like this is where we're at here. And I mean, I know they, kind of make up some, other parts of the world, but I just thought it was interesting. Like, Diana's in London and she's in Paris. Gotham plays Wisconsin, which is just kind of weird. I don't know where the location is for Gotham compared to Wisconsin, but that's the big championship game. And then I will say when they had to track Steppenwolf down and they're like, he's in Russia. I was like, of course he's in Russia. Like he's in some like Chernobyl, like, weird factory. Apparently no news coverage over there. Yeah, bizarrely, he's in Russia just chilling out in this, nuclear, bombed city. So just thought that's a little odd. Like this is where it gets like more fantasy for me, which I think they do, like they lean on more than like kind of making it a little bit more not real, but like making it more relatable to the real world. Yeah, and it's hard to keep up on like Metropolis. I mean, I know where each of them are from, but when they mentioned Central City, I was like, dude, sure. I was like, I guess it's in between Metropolis and Gotham. That's why they call it Central City, but whatever, man.
So, with me as a comic fan, this didn't bother me as much because knowing the history, like Metropolis is kind of like an equivalent to New York. It's like an idealized New York. Gotham is kind of like Chicago, but worse.
Yeah.
But the way that they place them in this movie, and they did it in Batman versus Superman also, but like they place Metropolis and Gotham like across the harbor from each other, which isn't the way it is in the comics.
I was going to point that out. Like you can literally see Gotham. Like there's scenes where like Lex Luthor's showing Superman Gotham, and it's literally like 2 miles away across the river, which I know, like, they're nowhere close to each other in comic life.
Yeah. And I think Central City and Keystone City are supposed to be, they're like the Twin Cities. What are the Twin Cities in real life? It's like, is it Minneapolis and St. Paul or whatever?
St. Louis?
No.
St. Louis.
Where do the Twins play?
Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota. I'm pretty sure you're right about that. Yeah, I was gonna say Minnesota sounds right.
That's what Central City and Keystone City are like, but that's neither here nor there. I know you're so fascinated by all this, Harry. But yeah, I understand from a non comic heads
This is where
perspective,
it
it
starts
can be
to like lose you.
a bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
So a major issue I had was when Cyborg is explaining his origin, and you see the flashback where he is literally hanging, just his upper torso, and even limbs missing from that. As his father looks to repair him, we have a Diet Dr. Pepper placement on the lab table, and it's like, really, your son is literally more than half dead, hanging by pieces. You're about to Frankenstein him up, and here's this Diet Dr. Pepper chilling on the thing. Like, that is so stupid when it comes to product placement. I can't imagine a worse spot for it. Maybe when like the Waynes die next to them in Crime Alley, that would be worse.
I didn't pick that up, but I
had to
don't
watch it a second time.
I don't necessarily think like I've never
it.
noticed that in like previous Zack Snyder movies. It's not like Michael Bay, who like loves putting like two things. It's like Victoria's Secret and the American flag in like all his movies. Like it's really weird, and like, but like I didn't like I think I might have looked away like on my tiny TV, which my phone, and didn't notice the Dr. Pepper. But I'll have to go back and watch it. But I really hate when in these kind of movies where like it's funny in Wayne's World when they use it as a bit, but it's like stuff like this where like comedies it's funny, but when you force a product like that in this like scenario, it's just dumb.
Yeah, absolutely brutal. So another con here, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, but Darkseid invades the Earth, gets driven back, whatever, and he conveniently forgets that the anti-life equation is on Earth, the world he invaded in the first place. He knew it was there, but he forgot about it.
Did he know it was there, or did he just know the mother boxes were there?
No, he I thought the same thing.
Doesn't he?
What's that?
He brings the mother boxes during the
He
age.
does. He
Okay,
does.
all right then.
But when Desaad, or when Steppenwolf tells Desaad, and then Desaad goes and gets Darkseid.
Vision.
Yeah, Steppenwolf and Darkseid are talking, and Darkseid is like, the Forgotten Worlds. Like, he knew that that was the place. He just forgot about it. And it's like, dude, come on. This is the second time in the movie they're clowning Darkseid, and I'm not down with it.
The one time I got beat, I'd want to forget that place too.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if of any place, this would stand out the most, because this is the one time you got your butt handed to you, and millennia pass and you just forget about it. And it's like, anti-life equation. You must not have been looking that hard for it. Like, come on, bro. This was such a stupid thing.
Yeah, I agree.
I got nothing for that, because when I was reading that, I was like, did he not know? This is where it kind of lost me for it.
I forgot that he brought the boxes, and now that maybe that's what was going to be my argument towards this point when I saw it. But if he brought that, you correcting me, it's a dumb
because he had those little witches or whatever that were holding the boxes, and then they got fried.
Yeah.
Was that Agnes and Scarlet, or were they?
It was Agatha all along.
Were they not?
Yeah, it was.
Were they
Agatha
part of the squad?
Right.
Is that how they transition? After?
Yeah, that's the crossover we're all waiting for.
I would go on IMDb and give it a 10 out of 10 if that happened. If Agatha they zoom out and she there and just gives a wink.
So, next con that I have here is they're talking
Greg's
about. I know, dude. I'm so hot about this movie right now. They're talking about bringing Superman back to life, literally playing God with a person, and nobody has any objections about it. Now, Hans, I saw you had a note about it. What was your note?
Aquaman was like, I don't think he's like, dead is dead. Like, you're either alive or dead. Like, don't do it. He did
say that, but nobody had any actual objections to it. The only thing was, and I believe it was Aquaman, he was like, well, what if it doesn't work? But what if it doesn't work isn't saying we shouldn't do it. It's just like,
doesn't he say when they're in the ship, he says something like, this is a bad idea. Like, I don't think we should be doing this.
In the original, everybody was against it except for Batman. And there was a major discussion about it, and Wonder Woman was pissed that they decided to go this route.
Gotcha.
In Zack Snyder's Justice League, everybody's cool with bringing Superman back, and there's no problems. Yeah. Everybody's happy-go-lucky. Like, what? again, you're bringing somebody who's probably in heaven theoretically back to life, not questioning, whether this is the right thing to do or what's going to happen if this dude goes berserk, which he does. Spoiler alert. Just none of that. They talk about that in the original version, but I guess Zack Snyder's like, nah, everybody wants him back. Let's bring him back. Cyborg showing his little hologram, and Flash is like, yep, that's the guy. Come on now. Let's just, oh my God. Dude, would you guys have objections? Would you at least brainstorm that, hey, this might not be the best idea?
I would at least do what we're doing and do like a pro and cons list of saying like,
Yes.
should we bring? Now, none of us have superpowers, so like
That's a real shame.
like I have a feeling like I would hope that like if I ever die and someone wants to bring me back, they're probably like use it on someone else that may have superpowers, because it's like just a regular Joe. I could tell a little joke here or there, but it's like I make people laugh, but I can't fly. Like I can't
punch a
out
moon.
of my eyes. Yeah. Like it's a bad
So-
idea.
So I will say that Cyborg is a creation, of messing with God's work. So I'd probably say he'd be on board right away. Batman, he obviously has seen the future from this future Flash from the one movie, and he's like,
Right.
I'm on board. Like, we got to do it. The Flash, Barry Allen's just excited to be there. He'll just do whatever you want him to do. He's like, hey, I could do this thing, but it might like really hurt me, but like I don't like to do it, but I'll do it for the team. So I mean, that's a 3-2 vote there. So I mean, if you ask Alfred, he's probably going to side with Batman, even though he was like, I don't know about all this.
But here's the thing: you're still having two people that would possibly object. Nobody objected here.
Listen, the one thing that I will say is they all talked about how they had to work as a team, except for when it came to Superman. They were like, so bringing him back was their only option to win, because, I mean, Cyborg would have bit it from Steppenwolf if Superman wasn't there. But, yeah, I mean, they just needed him. So, throw it out on the field. Call the trick play at the end. Like, let's get Suit back. We got to do it.
You do look at it that way. Like, it's like we need them. If we don't have them, we're probably all gonna die.
We're probably screwed.
What's the worst that could happen?
Batman's like, I'm rich and I can like do cool things with toys. Like, I'm not a god. Like, what am I gonna do against Steppenwolf?
I want you guys to remember that arguing point, because I'm also going to use that later with another con.
Okay. All right.
All right. So moving on to the next con here, Martian Manhunter visiting Lois. Weird. Like, first of all, I don't see the reason for the inclusion for Martian Manhunter in this movie. It seems like very throwaway in both of his scenes. But on top of that, it's like, I get that his character as the general, I think it was General Swanwick was the character's name. I get that he had run-ins with Lois before, and Lois was his, he was Lois's source in Batman versus Superman. But like, why he's going to visit her out of the blue just to cheer her up is a little strange. And then, he just transforms into his normal self, the Martian Manhunter self, in the hallway, and then transforms back into the general. Like, well, why not just transform into the general instead of risking being seen? The whole thing was just really bonkers, and I was not a fan of it. Harry, you look like you got some stuff you want to say.
Listen, that blew me away. I was like, what is going on? I thought he was a dark side teammate,
like a
and
sleep
I was like, he's
region
got
or
red
something.
eyes. I was like, I don't know what's going on. Didn't know what his name was. Glad they had the epilogue where they could explain what his name was, since that's what people call him. Also, Lois, like, not watching, your possible husband's like mom leave, like not peeking through the peephole, making sure she's gonna get out all right, like not walking into the door to the street, being like, what the heck, huh? What's going on? Yeah, totally weird. Got just thrown off by it. I was like, I hope this comes back around, and it did. But I mean, it's 4 hours. It should have. But yeah, I mean, could have done without it, or could have done, like you said, if she changed straight to the general, that would have been like, maybe some more theorizing where maybe they felt they had to put that character. But casual watchers are probably like, what is that thing? Yeah, right over my head.
Yeah, like, can you imagine like a neighbor just like walking down the steps, like turning in the hall, and they're like, "The hell is that?" Like, whoa, like, should I call someone? Like, yeah. I thought the whole, like, and I said it earlier, like, Martian Manhunter should not have been in this movie. If he was, they should have fleshed it out a little more instead of like 2 scenes. But the fact that he did go to visit Lois was like it was very weird. So, that's a scene that they can cut out. But, Zack Snyder,
Yeah.
for some reason, I think maybe in the future decided to like it for any kind of future plans to leave it in there. But it made absolutely no sense for this movie.
Just thinking on it, sorry. The only thing I think it made sense for was when him and Batman had the discussion about how important Lois is. Like, I don't know if he'll play some, but I feel like that's also world building before you even built the world about like why Lois is so important. And it's obviously important to Soup, which we see with that, but it's like, why is he, keeping tabs? Why does he change into this general? Like stuff like that. I was just kind of like, what is going on?
Yeah.
All right. Going back to what we were just talking about prior to Martian Manhunter, the reason for bringing Superman back, you guys were saying, hey, it's the best possible chance of defeating Darkseid. So what you're saying is Batman, who is a known person to take calculations and really work things through mentally, has a plan, and he decided we stand the best chance by doing that. Not, I'm operating strictly on faith, which he tells Alfred. No, that's not Batman. Batman does not do anything on faith. He does it because he is the world's greatest detective. He's peak mental conditioning. He takes every option and has contingencies for his backup plans, and he knows what is the best course of action to take. In this case, he thinks the best odds are going to be with bringing Superman back. I get that. I get why he's doing it. But he's not operating on faith. Batman never operates on faith. Damn you, Snyder. Any thoughts on this line?
Nerd alert. Chris, go ahead.
I don't know. Like it is weird how and it doesn't. Yeah, he says that as they're getting on the plane, right? Like
yeah, he does.
Yeah, he's like, I have faith. Like it just you're right. Like that's not that isn't Batman. Like Batman
super un-Batman like.
Batman will throw numbers out there and be like, we have like a blah 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 chance of this, and I have this kind of in case things go wrong, and like if I'm going into bringing back Superman, I'm gonna need to know like everything that could possibly go wrong, not just like everything will be all right.
Yeah.
I have faith. So
Harry, you've seen Batman movies. What do you think?
I have. I mean, sometimes you just got to take a chance in life. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just got to take that leap and, just see let the cards fall where they may. I mean, I think the only thing I would say is that Batman is the only one who knows about this future that could possibly happen if he doesn't unite the team. Even though Superman is like not really part of the team because they all know that he's better than all of them. But yeah, I mean, as far as a character trait, I would say it's definitely out of his, logic. You know what I mean? I mean, even in some of the other Batman movies, it's like you said, Greg, he's always planning a step ahead, or even if he gets outwitted, he has a backup plan for that. But yeah, I think in life in general, just take that leap sometimes as far as, when you need to, maybe get that interview, just go for it. You know what I mean? You want to ask a girl to marry you, just go for it. You know what I mean? If you think you're ready, do it. Go ahead, Batman.
I think that is sound advice for any normal human being. But Batman is Batman.
He's a mortal human being. You know what he should take a leap of faith on? Maybe asking Diana out. Maybe just give it a shot, man. There's obviously some tension there. Like, go ahead, shoot your shot. Take a faith shot on that, man. Like, go ahead. Like the tension is palpable.
See, you have faith in you have faith in relationships. You don't have faith in the world ending and bringing back Superman.
You gotta try some things sometimes.
I would need to know every possible thing that can go wrong and put it everywhere over that plane I made fly or Cyborg made fly, just to remind me that this is probably not going to be, it's not
agreed.
Looking
so the last con we'll mention for now before we move over to the pros is Lois's pregnancy test. Now, I'm sure you guys saw that, right?
Yeah, I'm not blind. Yeah, it's a 4-hour movie.
Yeah, I think that was another scene where I maybe looked away and didn't but then I picked it up later when Bruce said congratulations to Clark.
Mm-hmm.
Later,
do you guys know why this pregnancy test was included?
I was at another form of ad pushing with
No, it's not. But so this was the first of a planned trilogy of Justice League movies.
Oh yeah.
And in the second one, we were going to find out that Lois was pregnant with Bruce's child.
Oh,
Because apparently she got together with him after Superman died, which is totally unlike Lois and all this stuff. And he still saw fit to include this pregnancy test in the shot. It was very clear, very clear. And it's just like, I think that's a stupid story point. I'm glad that, we'll never get to see ZSJL part 2 because I don't want to deal with that nonsense trash. I mean, Lois wouldn't do something like that, and it's stupid to even show this. And I know I sound like a big geek, but I don't care. What do you guys? Would you like to see Bruce and Lois's love child? Do you think that's an interesting point?
no, I don't want to see that. And I heard that I read a few things like articles with interviews with Zack Snyder, and he mentioned that but I didn't hear it about being Bruce's kid. I heard that they were going to name him Bruce. His name would be Bruce Kent, which sounds dumb.
Yeah,
but yeah, I didn't know it was supposed to be Bruce's kid.
He was Bruce's, and he would grow up to eventually be the next Batman because Bruce would die at the end of this trilogy.
I heard that he was basically he was still going to be Lois and Superman's son, but he was going to end up being the next Batman. That's what I kind of heard, but I didn't hear being Bruce being the father, which would be an absolutely stupid twist.
Hair, thoughts? Do you want to see the offspring of either Bruce and Lois or Lois and Clark?
Listen, I think it's a quick turnaround from Superman's death. Like Lois, what I also feel bad for Lois is she's doing all this grieving. She has this alien come visit her and is basically like, get back out in the world. You can do it. Like, get over it. And she literally goes to the statue of where Superman was and is like, I'm ready to start over. And they bring him back to life. It's like she just had all this closure that she just agreed for herself. And then it's like, we're bringing him back.
If she had started one day sooner on her new journey, she never would have been there.
So yeah, I mean,
how long is it from Superman's death to this point? Is it a week?
That's a great question.
Is it a month? A year?
I feel like it's a month, but I don't know.
It feels like certain points make it feel like they built a statue for him, and it could be a year. But then, the way it's going, I feel like it was the way Batman's Batman and Diana are hanging out and talking about it. It feels like it could be like 2-3 weeks. So I don't know.
I'm over this movie. But guess what? We still have more show, folks. Let's move over to the pros. Let's talk about some cool stuff. So Superman does get brought back to life despite nobody's objections. And then we have the fight. So who wants to talk about that?
So I thought it was a pretty meh fight as far as things are concerned, but I really enjoyed the look on Barry Allen's face, the Flash, as he's going to pull off his move. Obviously everybody's struggling and Barry's like, I got this, bro. Here I come. And Soup just gives him the eyes on the side there. And just gets ready to turn on him, and just the look on Barry's face, I'm not gonna curse here, but this is when he knew he messed up, and it's that's when that's the face Barry was making. So I really enjoyed that part of it, but that was cool to me.
Yeah, I agree. It was a cool fight.
Yeah, I like how they added some more and kind of fleshed the fight out a little more, because they did keep that scene in with Barry from the theatrical cut, which I'm glad they did. I thought that was pretty cool. But you have Batman who has gauntlets that can block Superman's laser beams, which I actually completely forgot about earlier in the movie, from earlier in the movie when he introduced them to then, and I'm all right, that was a cool addition, because I think in the first what was in the theatrical cut? He basically picks Batman up and he says the same line. He's like, "Do you bleed?
Do you bleed?" Yeah.
Which I thought was cool in Batman vs Superman, but I thought it was dumb here to kind of I don't know. But then I forget how the fight ends with Lois coming in, which I thought was cool.
Lois and Martha were there in the
that's right in
the original.
Okay, right. So I thought that was cool, but they added a little more. But for the most part, the fight was somewhat similar to the theatrical. but with a little more. But yeah, I think it was cool for like a quick fight. Like it wasn't gonna be like a big like 30-minute one. So
the only thing that I disliked about it, because nothing in this movie is perfect, and even the good comes with bad, but the end of the fight before Superman flies off with Lois, they're trying to calm Superman down, and what do they keep calling him?
Kal-El.
Clark.
Oh, Clark.
No. Yeah, Wonder Woman calls him Kal-El once at the beginning of the fight, but they keep yelling Clark.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there's all these police officers and military personnel there, and it's like, does nobody have any respect for the secret identity anymore? Like, come on. Even Lois is just, Clark, calm down. It's like, dude, really?
What is this?
Like, you know better.
Marvel has
just,
like
if you want to call him something, like call him Kal-El or whatever, because then you're not going to give away the secret identity. But it's stupid logic. Stupid logic.
That's another part I had on that about stupid logic was just, so Clark Kent dies and that's where they bury him. Right. But like when Superman originally died fighting, what's his face? Doomsday. Sorry, I was going to say the thing.
From Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. But he dies, so like the government isn't there to be like, let's grab his body, like let's jump in now. So it's like this weird thing of like Superman's just buried in a regular grave where like his family is buried. But like the government at any point, I mean, I know we're getting like nitpicky here, but it's like they're not like, hey, there was this big fight, there was this like alien that kind of became a thing. Like maybe we should go like swoop in here. Like, does Batman take Superman's body for them? Does Lois like ask for his help? Is that where Bruce and Lois, he's dead, and they're like, "Hey, I'm sorry for your loss." Yeah, like what? It just I'm guessing just doesn't add up.
I'm guessing Wonder Woman and Batman help secret away Clark's body at the scene of the death, but they do. The government does hold like a military funeral for him at the end. It's just an empty coffin.
I thought, okay, right. I don't think they
showed it.
But
like the Daily Planet doesn't put it together. They got a bunch of investigative journalists, and they're like, "Wait, Clark died? Superman died.
Where's that guy that wears the glasses?"
Yeah, where is he?
So they don't explain this in the movie, but in the comics, when this happens, they just say Clark was one of the victims that fell to Doomsday's destruction, like as he was rampaging. Yeah. But yeah, they didn't touch on it in the movies, which is weird. All right, you know what? We're going back to the cons because the next pro we have isn't until much later in the movie, so we're going back to the cons.
I mean, to be fair, too, when they wake up Superman, we're like almost like 3 hours in, if not 3 hours in at this point. So, like, I know this movie's the Justice League, but Superman takes a while to show up.
Yes, he does. Batman. In other news of Batman doing un-Batman-like things, he sure loves not wearing his mask. Like, it's all the time in this movie. He doesn't have his mask on, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, he'll have the rest of the costume on, but not the mask.
I don't think I noticed.
It doesn't make sense to me.
I don't know. I feel like when you said that, I feel like I have to like rewatch it again, which I'm trying not to do. But I feel like I didn't. I remember all the scenes I remember him and he had the mask on, but I'm not. Hey,
go back and rewatch. Trust me.
Nope.
Soups. Who has a point here about that?
That would be me, of course. So like, again, this is just where I'm going, like this whole Justice League movie. And it's like, Batman's like, we need to put a team together. We need to work together. We need to come together. Like whatever terms you want to use about them being together. And like, literally they all are like, let's go do this. Like, hopefully Superman like figures it out. And he like shows up to like fight with us. But like Superman goes off on this different journey to go find himself. And they're like, when you're ready, man, like you just come join the team when you're ready. Like, we'll figure it out from here. Like, we're working together, but like, you just jump in when you feel like, we're about to lose it. So I just, I find it funny that the whole movie is on like building this team. And it's like, yeah, Superman, he's not a part of the team. He's different. He's built different. So
yeah, for sure.
It's funny. It's like that the movie would only be 3 hours. Like the last fight probably wouldn't have happened if Superman like was kind of like, I guess I should do this now.
Guess I need to figure out who I am a little more. Let me go back to my planet
and then see what Lois said about that ring. Yeah.
Well, and even that last fight, and I know we're skipping ahead here a little bit, but like Superman in the original version, he's a little more evenly matched with Steppenwolf. In this one, he just shows up and like wrecks house, like, dude, and that's it.
Yeah, It's amazing.
It is a big difference between
Yeah.
this and the original version. So yeah, I mean, it's like you guys said, they kind of needed him to find himself.
Yeah.
Otherwise it would have been a much shorter movie.
No. Go ask Lois about that ring. Clear that up
Yeah.
first before you come back.
Not a fan of black costume soups. I'll explain why, and I know this might not be the consensus
Dude,
among us,
nerd
but
alert, nerd alert.
it does actually follow the comic, so it makes sense that they use it in that regard. But I actually prefer the original Justice League, where he just went and got his Superman suit back, and I think they do this whole inner monologue with Jor-El and Jonathan Kent saying, you know, you can be a symbol and it's who you choose to be and all this stuff. So you're telling me the symbol that he chooses to be is just a drab black and white character and not some larger than life bold blue and yellow and red, like everything bit of Americana, that symbol of hope that the S stands for. Instead, he's just going to be like a black and white costume. Like, no, that's not a symbol of anything except maybe like bleakness. I don't know. It's just it makes sense comic wise that they use that, but I didn't like it.
Doesn't that suit have like other powers? Like, doesn't it like retain more sun? Like,
Yeah, it in the comics it helped him regenerate.
right. So I didn't know whether or not maybe that, but they didn't explain that. They, you know, if they would explain that, I think it would have made sense. I personally like the black suit, so but you know, it was cool. I was more concerned about his lip, but
Yeah, so that, I mean, that's kind of skipping ahead. That's a pro. There's no goofy CGI lip,
yeah,
right?
let's just knock that out right now. I'm glad that lip was fixed. Didn't have to worry about a Mission Impossible mustache. Like,
Yes.
it looked nice and clean, not like, you know, it reminded me of, like, you know, like Conan O'Brien when he used to have the heads and then like lips
Yes.
talking.
Yes.
Like, that's exactly what it was. Ugly.
Harry, I know you didn't see the original Justice League, but I'm sure
I
you've seen the memes with the lips.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on not having those goofy lips and the black
Listen.
costume?
I am all for movies not doing stupid stuff. And that whole like lip thing with the mustache and all that's just dumb. Like, why even set yourself up? Like, it's kind of like what we referred to earlier with the whole Sonic thing. It's like, why set yourself up to just get destroyed and like memeified and just like, you know, all that. But I mean, as far as the black costume, I gotta admit it's pretty dope. I thought it was cool. I'm not a huge Superman guy or comic book guy. But I thought it was a pretty dope costume. So I'm all for it. 100%. Yeah, love it.
I think the only difference I have is like later in the end of the movie, like in the epilogue, they show him still wearing it, which I think was my only like kind of gripe with it. I would like to see him like go back to the classic like red and blue, but
Right.
you know, whatever.
Okay.
We're not seeing that sequel,
Yeah.
so
Let us know. Let us know, folks, which one you prefer, because I thought the black suit was pretty dope.
So once again, going back to the old Batman isn't Batman. Batman sure loves guns in this movie. If there's one thing Batman hates, it's the weapon that killed his parents. So much so that he vows to never use one, and yet here he is shooting machine guns from his Batmobile, shooting machine guns from his Nightcrawler, which is a stupid vehicle. I'm sure was just made to sell toys. Here he is shooting guns that the parademons had, and he's using a turret gun and all this stuff. Batman loves guns. No, he doesn't love guns. He hates guns. He should be fighting all these parademons one-on-one because he's a peak martial artist, peak human physical specimen. It doesn't make sense. Make it make sense.
all right, for Batman lore, sure. Yeah, like his main villains are like crazy, like a crazy clown and like somewhat grounded people, like grounded like criminals. These are parademons with wings and they're flying away. So if he tries martial arts stuff, they're gonna be like fly away, like now get me, like figure it out. So I could see like the use of guns like against like an alien race. I'll let that pass, but that's just me.
I'm not buying it. It's not Batman. Harry, what do you think?
So it reminds me of that Patton Oswalt college humor video for Batman, where like they talk about how Batman's like, they're asleep. Don't worry. I put him to sleep. And it's like, Batman, you just shot a guy. Like his neck is broken. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I guess it's the only justification I can make for it is like he's going up against something that like he is ill prepared for. Like this isn't the Joker parading around town, or even like, you know, but I mean, even with other villains, he doesn't use it. But yeah, in this one, he's I mean, I guess global extinction's on the way, so he's trying to do the best he can. You know, but yeah, in the art of Batman and what he is and who he is, I would 100% agree with you. Also, side note, Chris, for those viewers at home, I keep thinking when I look at Chris's shirt, it looks like he's either sweating or he spilled like juice all over himself with like the color, but it's just like a mountain range.
I was not
figured it out.
thinking that.
It's the
I thought he was literally like either sweating really bad or he spilled something.
it's Wilderness Lodge.
Yeah,
and it's like a
Wilderness
mountain.
Lodge. Exactly. Yeah, I
Not-
figured it out now. But
Not being a sloppy mess.
for a moment, I thought it was.
Even though
so.
last week I spilled water all over my pants, but
Well, there you go. A little scene.
Thanks, thanks for clarifying that, Harry. We were all
But,
wondering.
Oh yeah. The viewers at home are definitely concerned. But yeah, no, definitely not a positive spin for the Bats.
Okay. Moving back to the pros, Soups showing up in that final battle and him just tanking that axe shot and saying, not impressed. I thought that was a pretty cool moment. That was very Superman-like and very cool. What do you guys think?
much better than the original theatrical cut. This is where, like, I think in the theatrical cut, like, doesn't he like not even like he does something to Steppenwolf, but he has like says some stupid line with his dumb mouth where he says like he says something like, you know, I'm a fan of justice or something like that. It's
Yeah,
like,
truth and justice.
it's real corny, and it's just
Yeah.
like I thought this was much better to like given that situation. Like I feel like that line was like really dumb, like in the theatrical cut, because you're just like you're not gonna show up in a fight and say that. Like
right.
yeah, it doesn't make. It's much better that he's just like basically taunting Steppenwolf. So I was all for it.
Harris Soup's entrance into the fray. What did you think?
I mean, it's about time he showed up and did something. But yeah, I thought it was pretty dope. I thought it was a cool line. And he really handled his business there. So definitely would agree with you on a pro for that. It was definitely cool to see.
Okay. And then the parademon that shot Flash. What's
Man,
going on with him? This
Dude,
is a con.
that dude needs to get promoted. Like he's moving at almost like at before. This is before the point at like time traveling speed where he's about to break the time space continuum.
Mhm.
And this parademon just takes like a couple seconds, aims up and just pops him right in the stomach. And I'm pretty sure like that parademon, I don't think Batman got him. Like he probably flew away and went to dark side and was like, yo, like Steppenwolf's gone.
What's up? Can I get that raise?
Yeah. So I just
Well,
thought that
doesn't
was like,
Batman come and smoke him?
oh, does he? He probably
I think
shoots him.
so. I think Batman comes and smokes him. Because Batman
Very-
just loves his guns.
He does. Guns and guns. That's
Yeah,
all.
I just thought that was like I thought that was like I
yeah.
don't necessarily think that was like a con, but I like it was just a really cool scene. But it's just like I think it's really unrealistic. For, like with the Flash, like this henchman's gonna come and pop the Flash when he's like you'd have to time that like ridiculously well.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like yeah, look at the wind and it's just like it's like American Sniper. Like you know this dude's not like a regular sniper. So
Apocalypse
he just
sniper.
got lucky. He's just like maybe if I shoot now because I don't.
He probably
I
had
think
a chance to
took
take
like,
a lot of shots.
He took like 5 shots and he nailed them at one. That's a 20% accuracy against somebody who can run that fast. Like, nah, I'm not buying it. It was dumb.
Yeah, it reminds me when you're playing a video game and you have to like get from one point to another and you have to do like multiple jumps and like
Yeah.
turns and grabs
Right.
and it's like timed or something. Like that's what it reminded me of just trying to do the impossible for that.
I would have
So,
much preferred like the Flash trip over a rock instead of getting shot at that speed.
Yeah, I agree. Moving back over to the pros, I actually enjoyed the Flash reversing the time ending. That wasn't in the original version, Harry. It was just Superman and Cyborg separating the boxes. They never failed.
Huh.
They just got it on the first try. But in this one,
interesting. Good for them.
yeah, they actually fail, and Flash has to reverse time and help redo it. What did you guys think about that?
I liked how they led up to the fact that like they show them fail and that whole
Mhm.
scene of like Cyborg, excuse me, if it was like Cyborg like seeing what was happening. I thought that was great. I think it's a good forward into Flashpoint. Excuse me, I have the hiccups. Into Flashpoint. So I think it was really cool, and to include that from, like to add that in from the theatrical cut, like it really adds a lot to like the Flash character. And I know we were talking about earlier how like they were done he got a lot more to do with Cyborg. So I really did enjoy it. I'm not a huge Flash fan in this movie. Like I thought he was okay. Like, but I think this was a really cool way to see like what his powers actually are and lead into basically what I'm pretty sure if they ever make the next movie, it's gonna be Flashpoint. So that'll be cool.
It's when I said it was in production, I mean it's shooting. Like it's
Right.
legit
It's happening.
in production. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. They are
Avatar 2's been in that situation for like 13 years.
well,
Yeah,
yeah, that's true too.
The only thing I was going to say about the scene is it really kind of confused me because like all of a sudden he started healing and like running, but I guess he was going back in time to like do that, and it just it threw me off a little bit, and I was like, I'm not understanding. So again, this is like building the plane, well, trying to fly the plane before you build it, and it's like it would have been cool to have a Flash movie where we could have gotten, you know, kind of these little elements that would have been like, oh, he can do this, you know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
and I mean, I guess you kind of just assume it based off of the other stuff he does and when he tries to bring Suit back, but for me it was still a little bit like, huh, like what's going on?
I'll say it's funny because you're right. Like if you didn't know about the character, you wouldn't know that he could do that. But like Janet did not really want to watch this with me, so she skipped out on most of it.
For her.
Yeah, I agree. But then she happened to catch the ending and she saw that part when he got shot, and she's like, she watches the Flash TV show and she's like, oh,
Right.
he's gonna heal himself. And I was like, how'd you know that? Yeah. So she kind of called it.
Gotcha.
But yeah, if you're unfamiliar with the character or any iteration of it, you wouldn't know.
No,
So
that makes sense.
And then moving on to the end of the movie, I liked Luthor actually telling Slade Wilson, aka Deathstroke, Bruce Wayne's name. He's like, yeah, I got a little something for you, something that's going to help you work. I thought that was just a cool little touch. They have that meeting as a post-credit scene in the original Hair, but
yeah,
Luthor
I've
does.
seen
Okay, but yeah,
well,
Luthor
that scene
does not
anyway.
what'd you guys think about that? Cool touch or just unnecessary?
It was a really cool touch. It kind of like made me think of you know how they do in another post credit scene to a much more superior movie of top 5 in Marvel movies like Far From Home. When they reveal Peter Parker. Just throwing that in there. No, I thought it was cool, but what I didn't like with how this movie was cut, with it goes from this scene to the nightmare scene of basically like, you know, that Slade and Batman are going to eventually be working together. Like they pretty much tied that story up without even showing it.
Right.
So I thought that's what the only thing I kind of took it away from me was the tie in there. But I thought it was neat because I don't think there's any like indication that Lex knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne in Batman vs Superman. So I thought that was kind of neat. I would have liked to see how he like figured it out. But you know, it was a cool touch to what they add from the original.
Well, I believe he knew that Bruce was Batman from Batman v Superman. I might be wrong about that, but I think
I'm not sure. Like I think he knew that Clark was Superman, but I don't think he knew that. Unless he did, or like I'm probably forgot. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I don't whatever.
Harry, any thoughts on this?
No, didn't really care. Nice of Luthor to show up at some point, but yeah, I saw that and I said cool. So, you know, I'll know for the next movie who this is and how he knows Bruce Wayne. So, yeah, for those nerds out there, sure. Cool.
Well, all right.
Good for you guys.
We do have a few more pros, but I'll get to those in a little bit. We're going to jump back over to the cons. I was bummed that there was no Flash and Superman race. This was actually a post-credit scene in the original Justice League, and I thought it was a fun little thing that alluded to the comics.
Yeah.
They had some lighthearted banter, but lighthearted ain't Zack Snyder, so he just decided to forgo this scene. Now, Harry, I know you didn't see the original version. But
You keep telling me. I still didn't see it.
I know. Hans, did you miss this or?
You know what? I did actually see Justice League on TV like within the past couple weeks, so I did stick around to watch the scene. Batman was flying, so I don't. It was dumb. He should have ran like Flash did. So
Oh, you're just Superman.
yeah, Superman was flying.
Yeah.
He wasn't running, so he's cheating.
Yeah.
I'm glad they left it out. I thought that was like a cool post credit scene for the theatrical version, but I think for like Zack Snyder's kind of vision, like as the movie, like it was just I don't think it fit with the tone.
Yeah.
I think it fit more with the theatrical tone, but yeah.
Hair.
I was gonna say, I mean, anything with the Flash, I'm all for, and I have seen Man of Steel. I did enjoy that. I do think Henry Cavill makes a great Superman, in my opinion. But yeah, that would have been fun to see. I thought that could have been a nice little neat end credit scene to tie in at the end. But I guess that was a Josh thing, so that's why probably Zach was like,
just watch the theatrical cut. That's all. It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Copy. Will do.
Moving on to the nightmare scene, which I was not a fan of overall.
Dude, I'm ready for this because this is what I've been wanting to talk about since we started.
Well, first thing I disliked, Nightmare Batman dropping F-bombs and threatening to kill. Two things Batman does not do, because yet again, Batman would not curse because because he would think of it as useless. It's unnecessary. It doesn't help him further his goal in any way. And likewise, how many times has he fought the Joker year after year after year and never wanted to kill? Here he's even forming a truce with him, but he says, I'm going to blank kill you. Just unnecessary, totally un-Batman like. Come at me, Hans.
All right, so look at the scenario that Batman's currently in. Like, he's leave the whole like Batman's been shooting people the whole movie aside and everything. Like, you're in a literal apocalyptic setting and you're running from Superman. Like, I don't think like Batman is gonna really care what he says. Like, I probably would be like, if I was a saint and I was in that situation, like running for my life, and that I don't, it doesn't bother me because I probably would say like something similar. Like, if I was like that kind of character, I wouldn't watch what I'm saying. I'd probably drop a couple F-bombs too in that like kind of conversation, or I'd probably, I wouldn't be censoring myself. So that's why it didn't bother me as much. And threatening to kill people, like, again, he's seen some stuff. Like, he's gone through a lot of stuff and in multiple timelines. So if he has to kill a couple people, like the Joker or something, and he saw, what did he say? He had like Harley died in his arms.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if he killed her or not. I don't know, but it just I don't. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah,
this dude's been through a lot. So I'm not. If he wants to eventually like finally kill the Joker, then go for it. But
listen, the second he starts killing and dropping F-bombs, he ain't Batman. So why is he running around with the mask?
I don't know. That's a good point. Why is he running around with a mask? There's not a point. There's no point. But then like it's a dream. So, maybe he just dreamed about dropping a couple F-bombs. So it's cool.
It was all a dream. Harry, how you feel? Oh, go ahead, Hans.
No, I love the nightmare scene. I thought it like I want to see more of that, and I'm hoping that WB like comes to their senses and realizes that there's money here, and we can get like not necessarily the planned Snyder sequel that like with what we talked about earlier, but like another like set story like with this. I would love to see Batman and Joker in this setting. I loved, I love Leto's acting in this, and he's actually the only person to play the Joker in two separate movies in live action. So, I don't know if that was they liked how he like kind of took the character. I don't know. Suicide Squad, I'm gonna just admit that was terrible. I thought like Leto was what we got from Zack Snyder's Justice League is much better, and what I thought the Leto Joker could be during like Suicide Squad, like that's what I wanted him to see. And I love the whole interaction with him and the Joker, and I thought the dialogue and the writing with it was like phenomenal. And I as much as I wasn't I wouldn't praise this movie for being like a masterpiece. I think the way they ended it with that interaction between Batman and Joker, like I loved it. I mean, I don't know.
Okay, you've been wrong before.
Yeah. What do you got?
It's,
Harry,
Harry, what are your thoughts on Nightmare
Man,
Batman and Joker?
I guess I'm the tiebreaker here. I felt like Chris said, I feel like I really like when I say I missed out on Batman versus Superman, I remember the trailer and I remember when I watched this 15-minute video, like the future, like dark side winning, futuristic like world. That looks pretty cool. Like I would like to see a full-fledged kind of movie like involving that in a way. But it just felt out of place. Like I understand it's the epilogue. I understand it was a nightmare with, Batman, but it just felt strange to add it in there, is the best way I can describe it. And just while I did Leto showing up, it's like, okay, cool, the Joker's here, and now he has to team up with the Joker, and Aquaman didn't make it, but here's Mira. Like, oh, is that Deathstroke again? Like the same guy, like now teaming up with him. So I mean, Batman, you got to stop messing up, man. You know what I mean? Stop having maybe take like some melatonin or something before you go to sleep to have like some good, dreams. But yeah, it felt out of place for me. It didn't connect. I had to like be like, what's going on? And then, you slowly realize, okay, this is probably a dream. Are we in an alternate universe? What's happened? We're mentioning Lois again. Joker's here. Him and Joker are really at each other's throats, but like they're like, we'll still do this together. So yeah, just didn't love it, didn't hate it. I guess I'm gonna stay neutral on it, but just felt really out of place.
I'll agree that like as much as I like that scene, it was edited really weird, and it was like kind of like I feel like it was put at the wrong place of the movie. Like I would have liked that if that was like a post credits where like they tied up the movie and then they go to that. And they go to like basically like I would love to see that movie, and I would love to see Leto portray that Joker, not the one from Suicide Squad, because that is just a mess. And I would give Leto another shot at that, and I it's not going to happen because Affleck's not coming back. Leto's probably not going to do it again. Like we're not going to get that, but Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, so for me, Leto's performance was trash, dude. And here's the thing, like, I know he's a great actor. Like, it's been quantified. He's won awards for previous movies, but not Suicide Squad, and certainly not this.
Suicide Squad was nominated, I think, for an Oscar, if I'm not mistaken.
It won.
Yeah,
one.
Not Joker. Not his performance as Joker, which was trash in that movie. And you know what? I was like, benefit of the doubt. The character was written weird. It wasn't the standard Joker that, people want to see. And I know he's a good actor, so maybe he just got a poor shot. And then they bring him in for this movie, and he's weird again and goofy, and it just doesn't fit for me. And I'm like, no, it's not just the writing, it's him also. He's not meant to play this character. So I was not a fan of it at all, but it is what it is. Chris, I'm happy that you liked it and you got your kicks off. Yeah. But personal preference is a mother. So, all right, moving on. Man. We got our second Martian Manhunter scene. Great. Martian Manhunter, it's a Batman. Your mother and father would be proud. What a creepy dude.
Yeah. How long has he been on Earth?
He could not possibly know the Waynes. So how would he know that they would be proud? Right. And then there's this whole, people call me Martian Manhunter. Okay, care to elaborate? Like, why? What men are you hunting? You're the good guy?
I like Affleck as Bruce Wayne and Batman. Like, I'm like on that board of like, I enjoy his like portrayal of the character now as much as like his character itself is written. Like, I think he does it well, and I liked him in Batman vs Superman. I thought he acted so weird during that whole scene. Like I watched it again because he just seemed off. Like as a guy who like just woke up and had like a really messed up dream, he was just like kind of like if someone kind of flew down and like mentioned my parents and something that like I think like Batman sees like, all right, like who are you? Like what can I do for you? You want to join our crew? Go, all right. Good to have you. Like he just didn't like care and then like walked away like
it was like he was doped up or something.
Yeah, like
well, that makes sense when you wake up. You wake up, you're like, sure, dude, cool. All right, I'm gonna go back to bed.
Yeah,
not Batman, my friend.
Yeah, but he like woke up and he just like turned around. He like I feel like if it was me, like going back, I'd be like, what the hell was that? Like Martian Manhunter. Like what? Like at least ask this guy. Like what do you do? Like what are your powers? Like, how do you know my parents? Like, there's a lot of other questions. It's just like Batman, just like, just it's good to have you, man. Like, I gotta get some shut eye. Like, I had a bad dream.
How was John Jones' second appearance for you?
Dude, sure, whatever. Let's get this more fleshed out on a next movie. But yeah, I was finally at least glad to get a name with the character that showed up. Thought it was weird he didn't mention that he told Lois, what's up. But they talk about, I guess, Lois is the key again with it. But yeah, just weird, creepy. Yeah, all those good words for it.
And this dude got the fly off, like the last shot in the scene of him flying off, and they're like, and people like, I don't know, it just was very odd, and I'm kind of glad that we're probably not going to get like, I don't know, we'll talk about this in a second when we get back to pros.
Yeah. Let's go over to the pros and wrap up that section. So for me, one of the biggest pros was Flash and Cyborg being treated better. Flash was not a goof who was tripping every 2 seconds. Cyborg got fleshed out a lot more, as did Flash.
Yeah,
I really liked their treatment in this. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I said it before. Like, I'm all for, like, so I would love to get a Cyborg solo movie. Not necessarily, like, I think if this was the cut that we got a couple years ago, I think there was enough story justified to be like, all right, he can carry. I don't necessarily can carry his own movie, but enough people would be interested to see his more like additional stories. Now, I don't know much about the Cyborg character outside of the Justice League movies, but this movie made me want, like, the Snyder cut made me want to learn more about him. So I'm glad that they treated him a lot better and gave him a more fleshed out backstory. And same with Flash. As much as I didn't like the Iris scene, I thought his character was a lot less annoying than the Snyder cut and then the theatrical cut. And they just made him like a more central character than just a goofy sidekick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna say, definitely. I mentioned it earlier. Love all the Barry Allen Flash stuff. Would love to see. We'll definitely watch his movie. Cyborg, obviously knew nothing about Cyborg, what he did. I'm down for like a prequel Cyborg movie back like in his Gotham City playing days, like in high school. Like, let's get some Friday Night Lights, like kind of TV show action on it. And like, I'm all in on that. But otherwise, could care less about a Cyborg movie.
Well, that would be cool if WB didn't screw over Ray Fisher with all that nonsense.
Yeah, he got screwed.
I don't think that's happening. Another pro here is Aqua Bro, not quite as annoying as the original cut. So I was really trying to pay attention, and I think a lot of his lines that are very Aqua Bro-ish still made it into this cut, but because it's 4 hours long and not as compressed, it doesn't grate on you as much because it's more spaced out. And there's also, he does have a few touching moments, like in the scene with the troop carrier where he's like, is Barry okay? He just lost his dad. He shouldn't be doing stuff like this. Like, it showed that he cared, and he wasn't just stupid alpha male type dude. What do you guys think about Aqua Bro?
I hate it. Like, from the theatrical cut, I hated Aquaman. Like, I think it made me not want to watch Aquaman because, like, nothing against Jason Momoa. Like, he is a bro. Like, he really seems like a bro. Like, he was great in, from what I saw, like his character in Game of Thrones. And I mean, I can't think of like really anything else that I really have watched him in. But
he was good in the Conan remake. Conan
I don't even think I saw that. Yeah, I didn't see that. But I think that, like, I don't know much about the Aquaman character. I know, like, a lot of people were like, oh man, like this dude, like Aquaman, like, stinks. Like, a lot of people were like, didn't want to, like, say they thought he was gonna be corny. And I thought he like brought another level to the character, but like he was too bro-ish. And like there's that one scene where I think they cut it out. I don't know if it's in this cut or not, if I missed it, where he says like, he's like, dressed like a bat. I dig it.
Dig it. Yep.
And it's just like really like odd. And I'm like, it just doesn't fit. And he just like, it's too bro-y. And I'm not, I don't think I didn't really notice it. I did think that I'm mad that they cut out, and I think they cut out the lasso of truth scene. Is that in this?
Yeah, they did. No, they cut
it out, which I love that scene from the theatrical cut. I thought that was funny, but I mean, I can see why they cut it out. I'm not happy they did, but whatever.
Mm-hmm. How about you? Was Aquaman too broy or just broy enough?
I mean, I still don't know really like what Aquaman like brings to the table. Like I mean, the one scene where like Steppenwolf is fighting underwater, like you think Aquaman would have the advantage on like home turf, and like he just
Right.
blows like the ability to do anything there.
Right.
And he's got you know, the trident and stuff like that, but yeah, I didn't have a problem. I felt like if it was definitely cranked up in the original, I didn't feel like he was, you know, like you said, as a pro. I didn't feel like there was anything too wrong with his character. He didn't seem like, yo, man, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, I thought it was fine. Just more of a, I mean, he obviously gets his own thing fleshed out in his own movie, which still haven't seen. Sorry, everyone. But yeah,
and
those are
he's
my
not
thoughts.
like that in that movie either.
Yeah, that's
it's
what
just,
I hear. Yeah, it's just that movie.
Yeah.
That must be the Joss writing then and just pumping that up for it for sure.
Doesn't he say? Does he still in this one? Does he do the thing? He's like when his Superman comes back, he like looks up. He's like, "All right." Like
yeah, he does that in
I
this
hate
also.
that.
Yeah.
I hate that. Like his lines
And
were,
my
were
man.
so my man. Like we're so like annoying and like they were all in the trailer and the trailer for the theatrical cut, and it made me like not want like I'm like, dude, this dude's gonna stink. Like I don't. But he was less broy in this.
Not
He was,
not to the chick that was sniffing his sweater.
yeah, I'm still annoyed by her.
All right, we have a note here about Eisenberg's Luthor.
I like this Luthor compared to the theatrical cut, like, and the Batman vs Superman. I think it was like it wasn't like he was more calm and more Luthor-like, I guess. But
Yeah.
the only thing I didn't get is his character from Batman vs Superman, like, goes into Arkham Asylum, and is like basically like spurting out all this like he is coming and all this dark side baloney, and now he just seems like he's pretty cool. Like he's just
Mhm.
like, all right, I'm good. I'm gonna hire some guy that's gonna eventually become friends with Batman. Like,
Yeah.
it just I don't know.
I mean, my take on that is he's initially driven insane, but I guess, you know, he's able to kind of come out of
Yeah.
his funk and go back to it. I do agree. I think he's better in this version, but that's also because he only has 2 minutes of screen time and
Yeah, I
he
was
doesn't get
gonna
to,
say. I
No, but
feel
he
I'm
doesn't
saying,
get to play Jesse Eisenberg playing Lex Luthor.
No, but I feel like if
Mark
they kind of
Zuckerberg
like
playing
I,
Lex Luthor.
if you
Yeah.
take those 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes that he was in it, and maybe make the character from Batman vs Superman more towards that, like not like as like like wild, like over charismatic, like character that we got from BVS. I think I would like him a little more. Like I thought he would bring a little more justice to the Lex Luthor role. It just, you know, I still have the stink of Batman vs Superman on that character of him,
Mhm.
but I think like I just liked him in like 2 to 3 minutes. I felt like it was a lot. He did much better for Lex Luthor in that 2 to 3 minutes than he did for the whole Batman vs Superman.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I could care less about Lex Luthor, but I love Eisenberg, so I wish him all the best in future endeavors if he decides to sign on for it. So.
it's kind of like I do like it's like Spacey's Lex Luthor. I kind of like him. I don't like him. I feel like
What
it's a
one
little
was he in? Was he in the
Superman
2006
Returns.
one?
Yeah,
Ooh,
that
whatever.
that dumpster fire.
Yeah.
That movie stunk. Like he was a great Lex Luthor, but it's like, but I feel like that was like such a forgettable movie that like as Harry just
Yeah, that's
proved.
fair.
Yeah, that movie stunk.
I didn't even remember that he was in it.
Yeah, I much would have preferred what's his name from Smallville, but
Oh yeah,
Michael
Michael
Rosenbaum.
Rosenbaum. Yeah.
I'm still
Who-
holding
Oh,
on
yeah.
hopes that
Interestingly enough, in the animated Justice League series, did the voice of the Flash.
yes, yep.
Shout out to my friend Laura, who's a watcher. She loves Smallville and loves Superman. So,
Oh, Laura,
yeah.
that's amazing. I'm huge fans too.
Yeah.
Laura.
Okay. So
Thanks for watching.
yes,
Or
thank you.
listening. She listens, I think.
Both. Cons. Let's go back. This movie
Jeez.
at 4 hours.
How are we still on these?
Yeah, this movie at
We're
4
almost
hours
done, people. We're
is
almost
way
done.
too long and still has plot holes. How does that happen?
I mean, I think this goes to, for me, I think this goes to trying to have your Avengers, your Justice League without building and fleshing out your characters. This is how you get plot holes like that. way too long. I will never say a movie is way too long. If the vision is for that, I will totally say that. And that I agree with you on it. All for it. And I kind of enjoyed my 4 hours. I'm not going to lie to it. I was able to pause. I don't know if that's different from being at your home as opposed to the theater. There's that element play to it. But yeah, this is how you get these kind of plot holes. You don't flush out your characters. You don't figure out how this is going to lead to this. You kind of start, I mean, Darkseid is like the main villain of this movie, and he's like in it for like a total of 4 minutes. Like he's the big bad, but it's like Steppenwolf is like his grunt doing the dirty work. But yeah, I mean that would explain that. But too long, sure, whatever. I'm sitting on my couch, I can pause and come back to it later. It's fine. Just the way Zack Snyder intended.
Unnecessary. It's just a exercise in self-satisfaction for Zack Snyder. I mean, there's no need for most of this. Well, not most of the 4 hours, but some of the 4 hours.
Yeah,
you could probably trim it to 3:30. Sure.
I'm a huge like Snyder fan. Like I said, like I like his movies, but this movie did not need to be 4 hours long. Like it just, there are plot holes that I feel like could be tied up in if DC had a pathway to go in their future, like kind of like how Marvel had like mapped out, which DC didn't. DC was kind of making it up as they were going along and doing it opposite of what Marvel did. So I think it's where a lot of the plot holes are coming from.
Absolutely.
And like Snyder, there was a lot of back like what Snyder had to leave, and then like a lot like some of the plot holes probably Whedon could I don't know. I think there's a lot of plot holes in the theatrical cut, but I think there are a lot here, even with the intended cut. But this wasn't necessarily this wasn't Zack Snyder's original vision, because he wasn't going to release a 4-hour movie. WB wasn't going to let him release a 4-hour movie in theaters. So you're right, Greg. I thought this was like an exercise of just him being like, "Hey, go ahead and make whatever movie you want." But we know that there's no future for any of these characters outside of the Flash for the most part.
Right.
So,
next point, man, they still got Batman's character wrong.
Jesus.
Well, the reason that I say still is because in the original version, Joss Whedon made him not lighthearted, but definitely lighter than Batman should be. He was saying stuff that Batman wouldn't say and acting ways Batman wouldn't. And even though Zack Snyder does not have him acting or saying those same things, he's still having him do stuff that Batman wouldn't do. So it's just like, I don't understand. There's been more iterations of this character on screen than any other superhero. And for the most part, most of those people have nailed the core essence, and they have not gotten that here. Like, I like Ben Affleck as Batman, no matter which movie he's in or which version of a movie, but I don't think that they've done the character of Batman justice in Justice League. It's just in whatever version, and I really thought Snyder could correct it, and he definitely didn't, based on everything that I've said throughout this episode.
No, I agree. I mean, it's not the same. Like, it's, I guess if they would have fleshed like Affleck's Batman out a little more, I would have loved that. Like in maybe a solo Affleck movie or something like that. Like, I feel like they'd be able to kind of correct some of those issues. But I mean, he was brought in from Batman vs Superman like right away as like not a normal Batman. Like, he was flat out killing people in like that car scene, like the chase. He was killing people like left and right, like blowing them up,
which Batman wouldn't do.
Exactly. But I think like I do, as much as like Snyder has my favorite Batman moment probably in any Batman like iteration, is when he breaks into the warehouse and saves Martha, which is that's Batman to me. Like, that whole like 4 or 5 minutes, I love that whole scene. But you're right, this isn't the Batman that the comic book Batman. This is definitely a Batman that Snyder made up on his own. Like, it just like used the name and kind of made his own form of him.
As a Nolan hater, Chris, I'm not surprised that one of your favorite moments for Batman is the Snyder version of Batman for it. So that's not surprising.
No, other than Nolan, I like the Bane versus Batman fight. But other than that, I mean, the first one, not the end of the game, end of the movie one. But
right, you're a Clooney guy. I know.
I'm a Clooney guy. It's my fave.
Yeah.
Hera, as someone who only or primarily knows Batman from just cinematic iterations,
Yeah.
and I guess particularly the Nolan stuff, what is your take on this version of Batman? Do you think it fits?
So I thought a lot about this because I was thinking about just like we always do this dance when there's a cast for Batman. I know, Greg, I know you're looking forward to the Robert Pattinson version to wrong all these, to right all these wrongs for you.
Yeah.
Which it'll do. And I try not to get caught up in the hype for it, but I understand, there is an element of like, what is Batman all about and what does he stand for? And, this movie definitely takes that and, basically rips it up. So I'm definitely not, a Clooney guy for it. I definitely always think of Batman as the Bale Batman, and kind of compare it to that. But for me, yeah, I mean, it definitely doesn't do the character too much justice in what he believes in and what his thought process is. But I mean, I guess when, the end of the world could possibly be at stake, you kind of, throw those things aside and, do what you got to do. But yeah, not my favorite Batman, for that element for sure.
Okay. All right. So we're going kind of long here, just like Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Listen,
So,
we're not going to be 4 hours, but we're pushing.
I'm gonna push on this last con. Why did Darkseid just stand there and like when the portal opened, just jump through? You dummy! Like that's why I hate when villains do that, where they have to they have an opportunity to just go through and just honestly just own everything, but they just stand there just like. And meanwhile, it felt like a 10-minute stare off. Where Darkseid. Go ahead. No.
He got beat before, and he wasn't going to let that happen again.
No, dude.
He was scared.
At least
he was nervous. He was sweating.
He had his whole army and that goofy Desaad behind him, and then he just slowly walks off, and he there's
he's gonna go do it the old way. He's gonna go do it the old way.
Yes, you know what the old ways.
The old way was the old way was him walking so slow past his army. Where I'm like, if I'm gonna try and invade these people, I'd be like, yo, let's go. Like that, no time to waste. Let's go.
Darkseid would rather mean mug and show that he means business.
I hope one of the two of the power demons were in that group all together. And just why didn't he just jump through?
The power demons were definitely like, oh man, the old ways, we got to do it that way. Dude, the portal was there, bro. Just jump ways.
You just saw it. Steppenwolf's head went through it. You could go through. I just annoyed me. I hate in movies when they do that. That's just
that's a fair point.
He should Thanos would have jumped in and started whooping butts right away. But no, Darkseid's just I look bad, don't I?
Make it make sense.
I'm gonna slowly walk away by doing it the old ways.
All right, let's move on to our final questions here. So, how do we compare this to the original Justice League? Hans, what do you say?
All right, I would give the original Justice League a 4 out of 10. This I would actually give it a 6.5. It's 6.5 to 7 for me compared to the original. It was a much better improvement. The characters were much more fleshed out that didn't get their credit. So I love the second half was so much better than the first half. I was all in. I like Harry said, I had fun with the 4 hours. I didn't watch it in one sitting. I watched it over a couple days because I honestly don't have enough time to I can't commit to a 4-hour movie anymore. I'm it takes me 3 days to watch a 2-hour movie. So this was an investment. It was a good investment, I think, in my part. I wish there was more, but it doesn't look like there is, but
Yeah. I would give the original Justice League a 4 out of 10, and I would give this a 5 out of 10. I mean, sure, there were some improvements, but not enough to say it was a significantly better movie. As we record this, it stands at 73% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I have no idea how. I just don't. I really don't. I don't get it. So I don't know.
So I was going to say I can't compare it to the original, obviously, but for my Letterboxd review, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I was leaning towards 3.5, and the reason why I gave it a 3 was because like I stated in the beginning of the podcast, the vision for me of him being able to do what he wanted to do for the movie, and it's like you're flying a plane without building it, as I mentioned earlier, where it's like you have to create a cyborg story. We don't have a Flash movie. There's been one Wonder Woman movie. There's been one Man of Steel, Superman movie. There's been half a Batman movie and half a Superman movie there. It's like you're doing all this stuff and trying to fit it in. Of course, it's going to be 4 hours. But yeah, I mean, I definitely wasn't crazy about it. I will say I probably watched Justice League 2 because I've seen this, and this is how these things work. You kind of get caught up in it and you watch one and it's like, well, let me check this one out. Especially with the Marvel movies where it's like, hey, I enjoyed this one. Got to see what happens. I hope the next Justice League is in 4 hours, but I also hope it has less plot holes. But yeah, 3 out of 5. I mean, kind of in that midpoint there. But yeah, I'm sure it was an improvement. And what it seems to be when you read all the stuff is that it's definitely an improvement over that. And 70%, I mean, 30% of people who watched it still didn't like it. So, I'm sure
that was critic score too.
Lower.
Audience score was like 93% or something.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, if you look on IMDb, this movie's in like their top 250 list now. So, I mean, it's not that great. But again, the vision, I kind of see it. And like I said, if you like Zack Snyder movies, this is the fight. There's a lot of fight scenes in this, and it's like entertaining. You know what I mean? At least he puts on a show when it comes to that stuff. So if you get rid of like, I don't really care for the plot, I want to watch Batman and Superman and Aquaman use a trident and like blow up a bunch of stuff. Like, yeah, you're going to be in for a pretty solid movie.
Okay. Compared to Marvel, Justice League came out in 2017. Infinity War came out in 2018. Harry, what do you think comparing the two?
So the reason why I thought this was an interesting question, because I feel like for Marvel, they obviously got to see their big Justice League movie, and they were probably just making some small notes of like, hey, we need to flush out the reasons some more. So I find it interesting that like just like DC / Warner Brothers decided, hey, it's a good idea. Let's release a Justice League movie before the Infinity Saga ends to like get ahead of the game and be like, here's our cool movie. And it's like, yours doesn't live up to the expectation of like 20 movies ahead. And I think that's the real disappointment for this. It's like, yes, we're all probably more people are familiar with Superman and Batman, and especially myself, like growing up, Batman was probably my favorite character as opposed to Captain America and Iron Man. But it's like, it's disappointing. You know what I mean? I mean, I get going the opposite strategy there business wise, but I feel it leaves just like a bad taste in your mouth when it's like, as my wife would say, this is a Marvel household. Like she was really like letting me know, like, I don't know why you're watching this movie. We live in a Marvel household. So, I guess I gotta watch the other one next Justice League movie when she goes to bed. But, I thought that was just interesting that you would decide to release your biggest movie before they do that. Like, that's just, like get the lessons from them and figure out what to do.
Yeah. Hands.
I'm not going to compare these two because it's like comparing like a bar of gold to like a cow turd. Like, it's Marvel. Like knew what they were doing, and they had they had so many movies leading up to Infinity War. Like they had, I don't even at that time, like what, 20 movies, 18, like somewhere between like 18 and 20 movies that were leading into this, and they had a plan. DC and Warner Brothers didn't. They just basically were like, you know what? They saw like there were already like almost at this time 3 Avengers movies planned, like either released or planned, and they're like we're already way behind the 8 ball, so let's just do a Justice League and kind of hope it like throw it against the wall and see what sticks. And I don't think it stuck. I think nothing really stuck with it. Like you could tell, like it got destroyed at the time. But it is interesting to compare them because they are like somewhat similar movies. But I just think that like comparing Marvel to a DC movie right now is just the quality is on like the opposite end of the scale. So I think it's I see what like Warner Brothers was trying to do, but it failed.
Yeah. I'd say DC with their movies has like a 50-50 percentage with me. Like I'd say half are really good and the other half not so much, with Justice League, both versions falling in the not so much category for me. Look, do they have to go the Marvel route and build up all their characters. I'm not going to say yes 100%, but look, there's a reason that it worked. And like any other team movie that you look at, like for example, X-Men. X-Men wasn't really an X-Men movie, it was a Wolverine movie. Like, you don't go into the backstories for Cyclops and Storm and all these other characters. In Justice League, they try and do that, and it's overwhelming, it's too much.
Right.
So I think, if they really wanted to go that route, they probably should have done the Marvel route and do like, one movie for each of these characters and then get Justice League under their belt. But they wanted to hotshot it and just go straight to the team movie, and look what happened. Here we are. So all right, and then the last question, what's next for DC? So they're working, they have some things in the works. They've got Flash, like I mentioned, Black Adam, Shazam 2, Wonder Woman 3 is going to be down the pike. So I mean, it looks like they're still going on. I don't know if they're, they talk about we're not going to continue the Snyderverse, but technically he started this universe. So I don't understand, like, they're not going to recast Wonder Woman. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, right. I understand if they change up the timeline with Flash so that multiple worlds are existing, multiple universes. But I don't know. It's kind of muddled what will happen with DC for me. Like, there's not a clear plan like there is with Marvel.
Yeah. I said a few times throughout like the show tonight where I said, like, I don't think we're going to get a future for any of these characters. And I think, like, now that they have another Batman plan that's not in this universe, I mean, the Flash is taking place with this universe, but I know with the Flash, they're like, there's rumors that like Michael Keaton's going to be involved, Ben Affleck. I don't know if Bale is involved. I don't think he is, but I think, like, they're going to start doing like the Thomas Wayne as Batman storyline, possibly from Flashpoint. But and I put this as one of my pros because I with the world that Zack Snyder kind of built with this, like, giving it a 7 out of 10 for me, I would love to see a Justice League 2 and see him carry on these characters. I think it's going to get greenlit by Warner Brothers. I really do, only because they're seeing the kind of reaction that this is getting. And you're going to throw so much, and Snyder kind of said what his plan was and everything. And I think that he can say he doesn't necessarily want to do a Justice League 2, but Warner Brothers, I think is I think they're struggling with some of their franchises. Like Harry Potter isn't popular anymore. They don't really have that like oomph kind of like franchise. And I think it'd be a real smart business move to hire Snyder as like a Kevin Feige kind of role to oversee the Snyderverse. I would love to see it continue after this cut. I hope it does. I hope we get like that announced Justice League. It's a shame that we're not going to get Affleck as Batman, like another Affleck Batman role. At least I don't think we will. But I think in the next month or two, you're going to see that they're going to realize that there's going to be a lot of money involved, and they're going to leave a lot of money on the table if they walk away from keeping Snyder involved in future projects.
Yeah, I mean, it also depends too if Snyder wants to do it. If that's something he wants to continue with his career.
And I think it's like I think like from what the reaction, at least the fan reaction, which kind of matters most in these situations, is the fan reaction's been mostly positive for his cut. So I think that, like, I think if he gets a little more freedom overall, like, I know his next movie, what is it? Army of the Dead.
Army of the Dead zombie movie for Netflix.
Yeah, that'll be out. But I think after that, he doesn't really have anything planned, and I would love to see him continue with the Snyderverse. It's unfortunately, I don't think it's going to play out with the same, like, I know they said they might recast Superman. They already like are doing a different Batman. So it's like, it's not going to be the same as this, but hopefully they can kind of maybe build on what has already existed.
Yeah.
Greg, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's done. I think Snyderverse is done. They've said as much recently, like within the past few days. And I swear to God, if I have to see like release the Ayer cut one more time, I'm gonna pull my hair out.
I never want to see that. I never want to see that cut.
I'm just over this release the cut stuff. Like, just look, WB made the decision that they made. Let it lie. Like, it's in the past. Move forward. Make better movies. There we go. Yeah. Like, I don't need to see all this stuff.
Listen, the only thing I'm for with it is Christopher Nolan, baby. Let's get all the Nolan cuts out. Let's do it.
I think that this did set like an ugly precedent. Like I think in other like in certain situations like Sonic, it worked because they made vast
See,
improvements.
See,
But
but here's the thing I'll say to you, Chris. If we gave you your own show and you went off and did your own thing, and then we just edited it and
who told
made
you I
it
was
like
doing
our
that?
cut, if we did that, like you would feel some injustice. So like I feel like if I was creating content, in which we are, like let exactly what you want to make show. And I know that means, hey, yeah, if I'm financing it, but I don't think it's an ugly precedent. I think it's really cool. I want more filmmakers, especially talented and good filmmakers, to be able to make the cut that they want to make and the movie they want to make.
As long as it's not 4 hours long.
Yes.
All right,
Amen.
listen, every movie doesn't have to be 4 hours long, but yeah. Just like this pod.
Yes, I am so sorry we have gone so long, but thank you guys for hanging in there with us.
Woo!
That is
Thank
it for
you.
the episode. Guys, any final thoughts? Har, how about you?
Listen, I think a lot of people who know me, and I think, in previous pods, I've talked about my disdain for superhero movies. Kind of enjoyed this. Not going to lie. Not a perfect movie. Like I said, 3 out of 5 stars for me. But yeah, I had fun with it. And I hope the audience and the listeners did as well. And they enjoyed, their time spent with it.
Hands, anything for the peeps?
No, I really recommend anyone. I mean, if you're listening to this, you probably already watched the
Hopefully.
Snyder cut. I mean, hopefully, or unless you're getting like you got a lot of spoilers. and
If you
spoilers.
didn't, kudos to
yeah.
you. Thanks for listening.
I mean, if you just want to skip it and then and let's hear our thoughts on it, I say go for it. Watch it, give it a shot. Watch it in parts if it's easier. Like just this is when I say it sets an ugly precedent. I do think that like Zack Snyder left the project under unfortunate circumstances, and the fact that WB gave him a shot to really kind of give him a shot of what his vision was. I don't think this whole 4-hour cut was his original vision because it's 4 hours long and no one's going to release that in theaters. But I mean, it is an interesting kind of take that not just necessarily from a movie making standpoint, but from the impact of really social media has on like these kind of situations with movies. So it is pretty neat to see the consequences with that. So,
all right. Well, thanks to everybody for joining us. That is it. We're going to be coming back at you in 2 weeks' time with our review for Godzilla versus Kong.
Another verse
We're gonna
movie.
That's right. We're going to have some kaiju action going on here. So beyond that, make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment, follow, leave us a review in iTunes, all that good stuff. Hit us up with your thoughts on Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm very curious to hear if you agree with any of us. If you disagree, please let us know. But beyond that, everybody have a great couple weeks and live spicy.
Spicy.